Chapter 345. Feng Yan, which forces do these 5 people belong to? Chu Fengmian turned his head and asked Feng Yan after killing the 5 saints. Young lord, these 5 people belong to Shanqing Academy, Dongling Palace, Defying Wind Sect, Shang Wutong, and Wudao Su family. Feng Yan said aloud. He was naturally familiar with the major forces in Shou province. Good. Today, you will lead your men to kill all of their sects in the 9 Sons sect. Don't leave any of their disciples alive. If there is anyone alive tomorrow, I will hold you responsible. Chu Fengmian looked at Feng Yan and said coldly. Go! Yes. Feng Yan immediately echoed Chu Fengmian's words and turned around, ready to leave. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, the faces of the saints of the Shou Province Alliance were extremely ugly. Chu Fengmian was really going to eliminate the roots. Whoever dared to resist, he would eliminate the entire sect. This kind of thunderous means was extremely vicious. Young Master Chu, shouldn't we have a talk first? An old man of the Shou Province Alliance looked at Chu Fengmian and slowly said. The old man was at 6th level of the Divine Power Realm. He should be the leader of the Shou Province Alliance. Hearing the old man's words, the warriors of the Shou Province Alliance heaved a sigh of relief. This old man is the sect master of the Hualuo sect. I wonder if I can talk to young Master Chu. Talk? I have nothing to talk to you people. If you turn over a new leaf and submit to me, I can spare your lives. How about it? Chu Fengmian said, his eyes full of coldness. He didn't want to have any conflicts with the major sects in Shou province. He didn't expect these people to jump out and want to kill him. If Chu Fengmian could tolerate this, he wouldn't be Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian was a fearless person. Whoever provoked him, he would deal with them. Today, the people of the Shou Province Alliance knew Chu Fengmian's strength and wanted to ask for peace. How could there be such a good thing? Today, Chu Fengmian would completely solve the trouble in Shou Province ancient city so that he wouldn't have to worry about it in the future. You! After hearing Chu Fengmian's arrogant words, the sect master of Hualuo sect couldn't help but feel a little angry. He was an expert at the 6th level of the Divine Force realm. In the past, even the upper echelons of the Annihilation Legion treated him with respect. But today, a junior was pointing at his nose and scolding him. This caused him to be extremely furious. However, he didn't dare to show his anger. That was because they wouldn't gain anything if they completely fell out with Chu Fengmian today. Now that Chu Fengmian's side was powerful, he could only negotiate. Young Master Chu's request is a little too harsh. Today's matter can be considered as a misunderstanding. Those people recklessly offended young Master Chu, they deserve to die. However, young Master Chu should give this old man some face and stop attacking the 6 great sects under them. The Hualuo sect master looked at Chu Fengmian and said calmly. Let's both take a step back for today's matter. The Shou Province Alliance is willing to support you as the ruler of the ancient city of Shou Province. Today's matter is over. The sect leader of the Hualuo sect said. He had already seen that the current situation wasn't right, so he directly chose to support Chu Fengmian. However, even if they supported him, it was only on the surface. They could also hide their strength and wait for an opportunity to deal with Chu Fengmian. The Hualuo sect master was incomparably confident that Chu Fengmian would definitely consider his proposal. The conflict between the imperial family and family Zhao was getting more and more intense. At this time, it was impossible for the imperial family to divert any of their strength. Every bit of strength was extremely precious. Since Chu Fengmian was sent by the imperial family, he certainly didn't want to have a conflict with them. Now, they could take advantage of this situation to resolve their grudges. Unfortunately, the Hualuo sect master had calculated for a long time, but everything was wrong. Firstly, Chu Fengmian wasn't a member of the imperial family. Secondly, Chu Fengmian didn't care about the Shou Province Alliance. They didn't even have a saint expert at the 7th level of the Divine Force realm. In Chu Fengmian's opinion, he could kill all the saints present. Chu Fengmian said a few words to them because he didn't want to start a massacre. However, if these people of the Shou Province Alliance really didn't understand the situation, Chu Fengmian wouldn't pity them. Chu Fengmian had given them a chance. Since they couldn't capture him, even if they died, they couldn't blame Chu Fengmian. Give you face? Old man, who do you think you are? Chu Fengmian said mercilessly. How could Chu Fengmian not know the Hualuo sect master's plan? At first, he wanted to overthrow Chu Fengmian. Later, when he saw that things weren't going well, he wanted to ask for peace. Supporting me as the lord of the Shou province ancient city sounds nice. I'm afraid that after you find external help or gather enough strength, you'll still rebel. Do you really think that I don't know what you're thinking? Chu Fengmian sneered, not giving him any face. Today, you have only two choices. Surrender or perish. Those who are willing to surrender, kneel down now. I guarantee that your status will be the same as it is now. I can let bygones be bygones. However, if you still want to resist, you can only die. Chu Fengmian's words were extremely cold and murderous. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, the higher-ups of the Annihilation Legion couldn't help but feel happy and excited. This was their ideal leader. The major sects in the Shou province ancient city had used their forces to threaten the Annihilation Legion countless times. Every year, they would get more than half of the benefits of the Shou province ancient city. They had been dissatisfied for a long time. Now, hearing Chu Fengmian's domineering words, their faces were full of excitement. As long as Chu Fengmian gave the order, they wouldn't hesitate to kill. Young Master Chu, do you really want to shed all pretense of cordiality today? The Hualuo sect master said angrily, gritting his teeth. He didn't expect Chu Fengmian to be so tough and not give them any chance. Surrender or perish. Their Shou province alliance's forces weren't as strong as Chu Fengmian's, but it wasn't easy to control them. The countless saints present were all sect masters. When they heard Chu Fengmian's words, they were all enraged. Either the fish dies or the net splits. Fight with them. We, the Shou province alliance, would rather die than submit. We will never surrender to this brat. Kill! Everyone, let's go out and turn the Shou province ancient city upside down. Chu Fengmian's eyes coldly scanned the saints of the Shou province alliance. Let's see who dares. His voice contained endless murderous intent. Whoever dared to move would die. Today, there are 4 chapters. I can't release more chapters today. The lamp is broken, and I'm going blind after writing a few chapters. I can't find someone to fix it in the middle of the night, so I can only do this. I've written 4 chapters so that everyone can read them. Tomorrow, I'll release more chapters. Chapter 346. What are you afraid of? This guy is alone. Does he think he's invincible? Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, a middle-aged saint, the head of the spirit beast sect in the ancient city of Shou province, raised his head and shouted. Today, we'll turn the ancient city of Shou province upside down. I don't believe this guy has the ability to kill all of us. The power of the entire Shou province alliance was equivalent to the power of the Destruction Legion. He didn't believe that Chu Fengmian would dare to not give in. Their Shou province alliance was best at joining forces to coerce others. They had forced the Destruction Legion to give up many benefits under their joint forces. Now, facing Chu Fengmian, they wanted to do the same thing again. They wanted to force Chu Fengmian to give them benefits. More than half of the forces in the ancient city of Shou province had joined forces. They didn't believe that Chu Fengmian dared to suppress them all by himself. Unfortunately, with Chu Fengmian's personality, even if the entire Qin kingdom dared to provoke a power from the ancient city of Shou province, he wouldn't care about it at all. He had never been a person who was afraid of being forced. In Chu Fengmian's mind, there was never an option to retreat. As long as it was an enemy of Chu Fengmian, he would destroy them. Chu Fengmian wouldn't even blink when killing thousands of enemies. Is that so? Then, as you wish. Chu Fengmian sneered. Suddenly, he waved his hand. Endless dragon power condensed on his body, and he threw out several punches. Each punch contained the battle dragon martial skill. It was extremely fierce and merciless. It was like an enraged primordial war dragon that was going to destroy everything. Demon. This guy is really a demon. He's crazy. He wants to kill all of us. Everyone, let's attack together and kill this demon. Several saints from the Shou Province Alliance attacked at the same time. In an instant, countless martial skills blasted toward Chu Fengmian. Gu Yao! The head of the Spirit Beast sect shouted. Suddenly, a huge demonic beast appeared in the sky. It was the Gu Yao. The Chong Diao was also at the 5th level of the Divine Power Realm. Together with the Spiritual Beast sect leader, it was equivalent to 2 saints at the 5th level of the Divine Power Realm attacking Chu Fengmian together. The strength of the Spirit Beast sect head could even contend against some characters at the 6th level of the Divine Force Realm. However, Chu Fengmian's expression was as calm as ever. He didn't put anyone in his eyes at all. A bunch of ants want to overturn the heavens? Die, all of you! Chu Fengmian sneered. With a single punch, countless martial skills were forcibly shattered. Right now, he could even defeat Ao Jianyuan, who was at the 7th level of the Divine Force Realm. There was basically no need for him to care about these people from the Shou Province Alliance. So what if he could fight against the sect leader of the Spirit Beast sect who was at the 6th level of the Divine Force Realm? In front of Chu Fengmian, he was still an ant. Chu Fengmian's methods were extremely ruthless. With a few punches, the saints were all killed by Chu Fengmian's punches. There was no need for Chu Fengmian to subdue these saints below the 5th level of the Divine Force Realm. They were all killed by Chu Fengmian, and the essence blood of countless saints was all plundered by Chu Fengmian, fusing into his sword of slaughter. Bang! The last saint, the sect leader of the Haoqi sect, was also killed by Chu Fengmian in one move. Chu Fengmian finally stopped. Most of the saints from the Shou Province Alliance had now died in Chu Fengmian's hands. Who else is still not surrendering? Chu Fengmian's eyes swept across the group of people. Now, there were only a few saints left in the Shou Province Alliance. Now, all of them were looking at Chu Fengmian with fear. Chu Fengmian's ruthless means had intimidated countless people present. Those saints from the Shou Province Alliance no longer dared to be enemies with Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian opened his mouth, and with one sentence, there was a dead silence. Now, all of you kneel down. Stop resisting and accept my restriction. In the future, the entire Shou Province ancient city will belong to me. Although Chu Fengmian's words were calm, the threat in them was self-evident. He had never been a soft person. If the people from the Shou Province Alliance weren't dealt with, sooner or later, they would be a big trouble. Originally, Chu Fengmian was worried that he didn't have a reason to deal with the people from the Shou Province Alliance. Now that they had taken the initiative to jump out and wanted to force Chu Fengmian, they were courting death. Now, he could use this opportunity to completely solve this big trouble. Bah! The old man at the 6th level of the Divine Power Realm, the sect leader of the Hualuo sect, finally couldn't bear it and cursed. Boy, do you think you're Zhao Wudi? You want us all to kneel down and submit to you? You even want to place restrictions on us? You want us to become slaves? We're all overlords, true saints. We'd rather die than be slaves. Zhao Wudi? Who does he think he is? Sooner or later, I'll make him kneel down. You say you'd rather die than be slaves? Well, I'll fulfill your wish today. Chu Fengmian looked at the sect leader of the Hualuo sect, and his heart was filled with killing intent. The sect leader of the Hualuo sect was flaunting his seniority in front of Chu Fengmian. Who did he think he was? He was the commander of the Shou Province Alliance. This time, he was the one who took the lead to rebel against Chu Fengmian. Today, Chu Fengmian would kill him first and completely disintegrate the Shou Province Alliance. Invincible Dragon Fist. Chu Fengmian's endless dragon might suddenly burst out. His entire body turned into an ancient battle dragon. He suddenly roared and threw out an invincible dragon fist. In an instant, a dragon-shaped fist wind blasted towards the sect leader of the Hualuo sect. Boy, do you really think you're invincible? Today, I'll fight you to the death even if I have to risk my life. The sect leader of the Hualuo sect roared. He was also a peerless expert at the 6th level of the Divine Power Realm. If he risked his life, he could even injure Ao Jianyuan, who was at the 7th level of the divine power realm. Today, even if he had to die, he'd take Chu Fengmian down with him. Boy, I'm going to fight you to the death. Immortality. I'll sacrifice my body. The sect leader of the Hualuo sect suddenly spurted out a mouthful of blood essence. It turned into raging flames and surrounded his body. He burned the last of his lifespan and blood essence to stimulate his most powerful strength. Today, he'd rather die than fight Chu Fengmian to the death. In an instant, the sect leader of the Hualuo sect's cultivation realm rose crazily. He stepped into the 7th level of the divine power realm. Boy, so what if you're a peerless genius? Today, I'll take you down with me. The sect leader of the Hualuo sect laughed loudly as he felt the surging strength in his body. He must die today. Even if he died, he'd take Chu Fengmian down with him. Unparalleled fortune. Unparalleled karmic rank. The sect leader of the Hualuo sect struck out an endless amount of black flames. Today's first update. Chapter 347. Those black flames were no ordinary flames. Instead, they were the true karmic flames of the underworld. As soon as the karmic fire appeared, it immediately turned into a rain of fire. Black karmic fire rained down and there were thousands of them. Chu Fengmian's invincible dragon fist was burned to ashes by the karmic fire. Hellfire, which could even burn spiritual energy, was definitely one of the most terrifying flames in the world. Ha ha ha, brat, you didn't expect this, did you? You forced me to become stronger, and I even comprehended the ultimate karmic fire. I'll kill you first, then I'll kill everyone here. Take everything you have. Not only will I not die, but I will also break through and rebuild myself. I will take another step forward and attack the life and death realm. Seeing the karmic fire neutralize Chu Fengmian's undefeatable dragon fist, the sect leader of the Hualuo sect laughed loudly. At this moment, he had comprehended something, which gave him boundless confidence. Today, even if he killed everyone present, he would not suffer any losses. Instead, he would be able to step into the peak in an instant. Seeing the arrogance of the sect leader of the Hualuo sect, Chu Fengmian sneered. Suddenly, the scarlet flame sword appeared in his hand. Boundless blood qi condensed. The blood qi was thousands of feet long. It condensed into a huge blood mark and slashed out. It's just karmic fire. I have seen the 9 heavens' divine flames. This karmic fire is nothing. Slaughter. Break. What swordsmanship! All of you shall be burned to ashes by the karmic fire. Burn it. The sect leader of the Hualuo sect laughed loudly. He didn't put Chu Fengmian's attack in his eyes at all. He activated the karmic fire again and again, turning it into a sea of fire as he prepared to devour Chu Fengmian's huge wound. Hiss. However, as soon as his karmic fire sea was formed, an unbelievable scene occurred. Chu Fengmian's 1,000 feet long blood mark cut the sea of fire in half. The karmic fire was extinguished one after another. The karmic fire that he had condensed dissipated like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds. At the same time, without the slightest hesitation, the 10,000 feet long bloody scar slashed toward the transforming Lu Gate's headmaster. Impossible. What I condensed is the supreme karmic fire. How can an invincible flame be extinguished? Just a second ago, he was brimming with confidence, but in the next second, the sect leader of the Hualuo Gate was stunned. He didn't expect that his karmic fire would be so weak in front of Chu Fengmian. Supreme karmic rank. Karmic fire from the heavens. The sect master of the Hualuo sect madly channeled his spiritual energy and condensed an endless amount of karmic fire to defend himself. However, no matter how much he struggled, he was instantly extinguished by Chu Fengmian's bloody scar. The bloody scar slashed towards the sect master's waist without hesitation. In an instant, the vital energy within the body of the transforming Luo Gate sect master was completely devoured. Chu Fengmian could feel that after devouring the vital energy of the transforming Luo Gate sect master, his slaughtering sword art had finally reached the great success stage. The killing intent on Chu Fengmian's body became several times purer than before. This was a sign that his slaughter sword art had reached great success. After killing so many saints and devouring their blood essence, the massacre sword art had finally reached the great accomplishment stage. Chu Fengmian smiled. He really had to thank the Shou Province Alliance. If they hadn't come, Chu Fengmian wouldn't have been able to find so many saints to kill. This scene made the hearts of countless people tremble. The most invincible figure in their hearts, the sect master of the Hualuo Gate, had died in Chu Fengmian's hands. Who else wants to resist? Chu Fengmian coldly glanced at the saints of the Shou Province Alliance. Now, there were only 6 saints left. These 6 people were all trembling under Chu Fengmian's gaze. All of you, kneel. Give up resistance and open your hearts. Chu Fengmian didn't waste any time. He stepped forward and coldly looked at the remaining 6 saints. He pointed at one of the Scorching Sun sect masters and said, "You, come here and kneel. Young Master Chu, I'm willing to submit and rely on you. However, I won't let you plant a restriction in my heart." The Scorching Sun sect master walked forward and said to Chu Fengmian, "We're all overlords. Submitting to you is already the limit. We can't be your slaves and let you plant a restriction in us. That's an insult to us. What? Do you still want to haggle? Overlord of a region? You're all ants in my heart. Since you're not willing, then you can go to hell." Chu Fengmian glanced at the Scorching Sun sect master and suddenly struck out with his palm. The Scorching Sun sect master immediately turned into a cloud of blood mist and disappeared in the air. The endless blood mist was instantly devoured by Chu Fengmian. Such a saint was killed like an ant in front of Chu Fengmian. This caused the remaining 5 saints to lose any thoughts they had about Yi Futian. They could see that Chu Fengmian was a man of his words. If they dared to resist, they would definitely end up worse than the Scorching Sun sect master. Who else is not willing to submit? Chu Fengmian looked at the remaining 5 saints and said coldly, "This is the last time I ask. There will be no next time. Whoever is not willing to submit will die." "Yes. We're willing to submit." Hearing Chu Fengmian's last words, the 5 saints immediately knelt on the ground. They no longer cared about their reputation as sect masters and overlords. Dignity was important, but it was far less important than their lives. One by one, they knelt on the ground in panic. The entire Shou Province Alliance was solved by the young master. Seeing this scene, the higher-ups of the Annihilation Legion were shocked. Many of them were extremely happy. The Shou Province Alliance had been a problem for the Annihilation Legion for a long time. Today, it was solved so easily by Chu Fengmian. Following such a peerless expert, their future achievements would definitely be limitless. Chu Fengmian walked up to the 5 saints and said coldly, "All of you, open up your minds." Yes. Opening up one's mind was an extremely dangerous thing to do. Once someone engraved a restriction on one's mind, one's life would no longer belong to him. He would truly become a slave. However, even if the 5 saints were unwilling to do so, they had no choice but to open up their minds one by one. Chu Fengmian's mind moved. 5 streaks of black spiritual energy condensed and turned into 5 heavenly death seals. They immediately entered the minds of the 5 saints. Chu Fengmian did not trust these people at all. He directly controlled them with the heavenly death seals. Chapter 348. Now, Chu Fengmian had destroyed the Shou Province Alliance. The opposing forces in the ancient city of Shou Province had been annihilated. The entire city was now under Chu Fengmian's command. "The 5 of you, submit to me now. Even though you've committed the crime of rebellion, I'll let you off the hook this time around. Your sects will also be spared from this calamity. Go back and continue to be your sect leaders." Chu Fengmian looked at the 5 saints and said calmly, "Thank you, young master, for your kindness. We will follow you forever." The 5 saints knelt on the ground and kowtowed. Chu Fengmian forgave their sins. This was definitely a great kindness to them. Chu Fengmian had placed the heavenly seal of death on all 5 of them. Their lives and deaths were all under Chu Fengmian's control. Even if Chu Fengmian made them the lowliest slaves, they couldn't resist. He even forgave their sins. It was definitely a great kindness. They knelt on the ground and kowtowed. As for the other sects, as long as they are in the Shou Province Alliance, all their disciples will be demoted to slaves. Chu Fengmian turned his head and looked at Ao Zhenyuan. Ao Zhenyuan, take some people and demote all their disciples to slaves. Confiscate all their wealth. Who dares to resist? Kill them on the spot. Yes, young master. Ao Zhenyuan left with a few experts of the Destruction Legion after hearing the order. Soon, countless screams came from the entire ancient city of Shou Province. More than half of the sects in the ancient city of Shou Province had been destroyed. All their disciples had been demoted to slaves. This was the result of their resistance. Chu Fengmian rested in the palace until a day later when Ao Zhenyuan returned with his men. Ao Zhenyuan's body was filled with endless blood qi. It seemed that he had killed countless people. Young master, all the rebellious sects in the ancient city of Shou Province have been destroyed. Their disciples have been demoted to slaves. As for their wealth, it's all in this spatial ring. Please take a look. Ao Zhenyuan was now under the heavenly death seal, so he was definitely more loyal than anyone else. Chu Fengmian took it and opened it. There were 100 billion 9 cauldron pills in the spatial ring. They were even richer than the army of destruction. No wonder the alliance of the Shou province can compete with the Annihilation Legion. They're really rich. Chu Fengmian took the ring and put it away. Chu Fengmian deserved this wealth. Ao Zhenyuan, I'm about to leave the ancient city of longevity. I'll leave everything here to you. Chu Fengmian said, looking at Ao Zhenyuan. Now that Shou province had been unified, there were many things waiting to be done. It would be better to leave Ao Zhenyuan to guard Shou province and bring Chu Fengmian an endless stream of wealth. The ancient city of longevity was probably richer than the entire victorious martial country. Now that Chu Fengmian had occupied this place, there was no need to worry about wealth. Yes. Ao Zhenyuan replied respectfully. Then, he left and began to arrange everything in the ancient city of Shou province. As Ao Zhenyuan left, a figure suddenly appeared in the palace. It was Prince Bloodkill. Prince Bloodkill's heart was filled with endless shock. He didn't expect Chu Fengmian to be so ruthless. Not only did he subdue the Annihilation Legion, but he also subdued the Shou Province Alliance and made the entire ancient city of longevity submit to him. Congratulations, young Master Chu. Now that you've recovered the ancient city of longevity, go back and report to the Emperor. The position of Duke will definitely be yours. Prince Bloodkill looked at Chu Fengmian and said with a smile. Being able to recover the ancient city of longevity was a great contribution to the imperial family. It was just a matter of time for him to be promoted. I don't care about the position of Duke. I'm doing this just to cooperate with Princess Tianyin. As for other people, even the imperial family, it has nothing to do with me. Chu Fengmian said coldly. Everyone wanted the position of Duke of the Qin Empire, but Chu Fengmian didn't care. If he wanted, he could give Chu Fengmian a few years and the whole Qin Empire would belong to him. It was just that he wasn't interested. His only goal now was to deal with family Zhao and get rid of Zhao Wudi. As for other things, they weren't in Chu Fengmian's consideration. As for the imperial family of the Qin Empire, if they were sensible and didn't provoke Chu Fengmian wouldn't have anything to do with them. However, if they wanted to rope in Chu Fengmian, or even tie Chu Fengmian to their ship, they would be courting death. Prince Bloodkill was startled when he heard Chu Fengmian's cold words. The meaning behind his words was also a test. He wanted to tie Chu Fengmian to the big ship of the Qin Empire's royal family. After all, although Prince Bloodkill was following Princess Tianyin, he was also a member of the imperial family. Naturally, he had to consider the imperial family. However, his test was seen through by Chu Fengmian and he gave a direct answer. Such a direct answer made Prince Bloodkill sigh. However, he also knew that a person like Chu Fengmian couldn't be forced. Rather than angering Chu Fengmian, it was better to be at peace with him. However, young Master Chu, the matter of reclaiming the ancient city of Shou province must be reported to the emperor. After all, it's a matter of great importance. However, it's just a report, nothing else. Please rest assured. Prince Bloodkill said. Princess Tianyin has already sent me a message, asking me to invite you to the imperial city. Alright, I happen to have some thoughts and I want to discuss it with Princess Tianyin. Let's go to the imperial city. Chu Fengmian thought for a while and said. It seemed that his existence couldn't be ignored by the imperial family of the Qin Empire. After all, Chu Fengmian had subdued the Destruction Legion, occupied the ancient city of Shou province, and was the great commander of the Qin Empire army. With such a status, he was already one of the most powerful people in the Qin Empire. He was comparable to the general of the army, Zhao Wudi. Now that he was asked to go to the imperial city, it meant that he wanted to join the imperial court. Then let's go immediately. Prince Bloodkill was relieved when he heard Chu Fengmian's answer. He was afraid that Chu Fengmian would refuse, which would make things difficult for him. He couldn't do anything to Chu Fengmian. Let's go. Chu Fengmian didn't waste time talking nonsense. He suddenly grabbed Prince Bloodkill and his figure moved, shuttling through space. Chu Fengmian's speed was extremely fast. In a few hours, he had shuttled through half of the Qin Empire's territory and arrived in front of a huge city. This city was much bigger than the ancient city of Shou province and the Nine Cauldrons ancient city. It was built extremely majestically. This was the imperial city of the Qin Empire. Thank you very much for the 3 rewards. Thank you for your support. Chapter 349. The imperial city of the Qin Empire was extremely majestic. The soldiers who were guarding the city were all at the Divine Sea realm. It was the center of the Qin Empire. Chu Fengmian scanned the place with his spiritual consciousness. There were at least 40 to 50 saints in the imperial city. This was the most unfathomable place in the entire Qin Empire. Chu Fengmian could feel that there were many hidden auras. Chu Fengmian was too far away, so he couldn't sense their realms. He could only sense their auras. Let's go in. Chu Fengmian stood in front of the imperial city. He didn't stop and walked in. So what if there were many experts in the imperial city? Chu Fengmian wasn't a weakling now. If he wanted to make a scene, there weren't many experts in the imperial city who could stop him. Chu Fengmian wasn't afraid. Prince of Bloodkill. The guards didn't know Chu Fengmian, but they recognized the Prince of Bloodkill behind him. They bowed and let him in. Saints, even in the Qin Empire, were people with extremely high statuses, and were respected by everyone. Even though the Prince of Bloodkill didn't dare to breathe heavily in front of Chu Fengmian, he was still a powerful figure in the Qin Empire. Yes. The Prince of Bloodkill nodded and brought Chu Fengmian into the imperial city. They walked towards Princess Tianyin's residence. However, halfway there, Chu Fengmian sensed a few auras coming in his direction. Obviously, they were here for Chu Fengmian and the Prince of Bloodkill. Prince of Bloodkill, long time no see. 2 figures suddenly walked over. One of them was old and the other was young. The young man walked out. This person had a dignified appearance and was dressed in luxurious clothes. Every move he made was filled with a noble aura and supreme dignity. Obviously, he was also a noble figure. As for the old man standing behind him, he had a calm expression on his face. However, his eyes were filled with arrogance, as if he didn't even put Prince Bloodkill in his eyes. The old man attracted Chu Fengmian's attention. The old man was at the peak of the 6th level of the Divine Power realm. Even though he wasn't as strong as Ao Zhenyuan, he was much stronger than Feng Yan and the others. In the Qin Empire, he was definitely a top-notch expert. Beside the 2 of them, there were also countless guards. Each of these guards had the strength of wind-resisting realm and above. There were a total of 20 of them. Obviously, they were the elites cultivated by the royal family of the Qin Empire. To be able to command such guards was enough to prove that these two people were of noble status. So it's the first prince and Grand Duke supremacy. Prince of Bloodkill's face turned solemn when he saw the two of them. He secretly transmitted his voice to Chu Fengmian. These two are the first prince of the Qin Empire's royal family, and the Grand Prince Taidu. This first prince is the strongest person in the royal family who can contend against Princess Tianyin. His strength is not inferior to Princess Tianyin's. He is a great threat to Princess Tianyin. As for this supremacy Grand Prince, he is one of the 3 Grand Princes of the royal family. His status is so high that even us Grand Princes have to lower ourselves to him. This supremacy Grand Prince is the master of the first prince and an absolute supporter of the first prince. He is not easy to deal with. Prince of Bloodkill quietly told Chu Fengmian the identities of the 2 men. The first prince? Grand Prince Taidu? Chu Fengmian looked at the 2 men and sized them up. He did not care about them at all. As long as they did not provoke Chu Fengmian did not care who they were. First prince, Grand Prince Taidu, why have you 2 come to this humble prince? Prince of Bloodkill asked calmly. It was obvious that the 2 of them had come for them. Naturally, he knew this very well. However, these 2 men's status was higher than his. He did not have a good solution to deal with them at the moment. Prince of Bloodkill, you don't have to be so polite. I came here this time to see who subdued the Annihilation Legion. I heard that this person is the current great commander of the Qin Empire's army. How about it, Prince of Bloodkill? Do you want to introduce me? The first prince looked at Prince of Bloodkill and said calmly. Damn it! How did this news spread so fast? The first prince also had spies in the ancient city of Shou province. Prince of Bloodkill cursed inwardly when he heard the first prince's words. Now, he understood that these 2 honorable men had suddenly come to block his way. Obviously, they were here for Chu Fengmian. However, he did not have any good solutions in the current world. He could only brace himself and speak to Chu Fengmian. Young Master Chu, these 2 are the first prince and Grand Prince Taidu. Come and meet them. Chu Fengmian could not help but frown when he heard the 2 men. He walked out but did not say anything. He did not want to provoke trouble, but he did not expect that trouble would come to Chu Fengmian. Standing behind the first prince, a soldier at the peak of the wind-controlling realm suddenly appeared and shouted at Chu Fengmian. Audacious madman! You actually did not kneel when you saw the first prince and Grand Prince Taidu. You are disrespecting the imperial family. You have committed a great crime. Why don't you kneel and beg for the first prince and Grand Prince Taidu's forgiveness? Only then will your sins be forgiven. The soldier's words made the air around them turn cold. The Bloodkill Grand Prince could not help but break out in cold sweat. He knew Chu Fengmian's character the best. Whoever dared to provoke Chu Fengmian would become Chu Fengmian's mortal enemy. No matter which side they belonged to, it was the same. Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed with killing intent. At the same time, he could see that the soldier had received instructions from the first prince and Grand Prince Taidu. That was why he dared to come out and berate Chu Fengmian. After all, not to mention the rumors about Chu Fengmian, just Chu Fengmian's identity as the Grand Commander of the Qin Shihuan Legion and the Annihilation Legion were enough. This was not something a small soldier could berate. The soldier had clearly received instructions to berate Chu Fengmian. However, it was now obvious who had done it with a single glance. Chu Fengmian looked at the first prince and Grand Prince Taidu. They looked at Chu Fengmian with sneers. They wanted to see what Chu Fengmian would do. Their identities were higher than Chu Fengmian's. According to the rules, Chu Fengmian had to salute them. Now, they wanted to use this opportunity to show their strength to Chu Fengmian. Are they trying to show their strength? Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed with coldness. Chu Fengmian was not a troublemaker, but he was not a soft persimmon either. Whoever dared to bully him would have to pay the price. What's wrong, kid? I'm talking to you. Didn't you hear me? Kneel down. Man, this person must be a spy from another country. Subdue him and interrogate him. Check his identity first. The soldier saw that Chu Fengmian did not speak. He became even more arrogant and shouted loudly. Chapter 350. Young Master Chu is the commander of the Qin Shi Huang army. How could he be a spy? Back off. Prince of Bloodkill saw the change in Chu Fengmian's eyes and shouted at the soldier. However, the soldier's face did not change after hearing Prince of Bloodkill's words. He kept a straight face and said righteously. According to the law, even the commander of an army has to kneel and salute the members of the royal family. Prince of Bloodkill, don't you understand this principle? This person has committed a great crime by not saluting. Now, he is still stubborn. The law is sacred and cannot be blasphemed. Today, we will take him to the Hall of Penal Law and let him be judged. The soldier looked at Chu Fengmian and shouted. Men, capture him. If he dares to resist, kill him without mercy. Several soldiers rushed over. Their faces were full of fierceness. Each of them had a chain in their hands and wanted to tie Chu Fengmian up. The chain was made of profound cold true iron. Once bound, it would be difficult for an ordinary saint to break free. Tie him up. Once that soldier gave the order, countless soldiers immediately rushed toward Chu Fengmian with the chains in their hands. Get lost. Chu Fengmian frowned, and his eyes showed some anger. He had always been humble. They really thought he was a soft persimmon. A huge amount of spiritual energy suddenly condensed from Chu Fengmian's body. With a loud bang, the chains around Chu Fengmian were all broken. The chain that ordinary saints could not break free from was extremely fragile in front of Chu Fengmian. It broke with a wave of his hand. How dare you? How dare you resist? Let's attack together and suppress him. Seeing Chu Fengmian break free, the soldiers looked at each other and suddenly attacked. Countless martial skills blasted toward Chu Fengmian. Courting death? Chu Fengmian's eyebrows twitched. He was really angry. He did not want to bicker with these ants, but they dared to attack him. This had crossed Chu Fengmian's bottom line. All of you, die! Chu Fengmian waved his hand, and an endless amount of spiritual energy suddenly blasted out. This spiritual energy caused the surrounding space to tremble. With a loud bang, it blasted towards the soldiers surrounding Chu Fengmian. The first prince's eyes were filled with surprise at this sudden attack. He didn't expect Chu Fengmian to be so brazen as to attack in the imperial city. His eyes flickered, and the old man next to him, the supremacy great prince, immediately moved. A big hand suddenly grabbed at Chu Fengmian and dissolved his spiritual power. Great Commander Chu, there's no need to be so angry. These little fellows are just following the rules. The Supremacy Grand Prince looked at Chu Fengmian and slowly said. They are right. Without rules, nothing can be accomplished. Not to mention that you are just a general of the Qin Shi Huang army without any title in the Qin Shi Huang country. Even if you were promoted, you would still have to kneel before the members of the royal family. This old man is in charge of the Ministry of Rights, and it is precisely my responsibility to maintain etiquette. Grand Commander Chu, you should obediently bow. The Supremacy Grand Prince looked at Chu Fengmian and said coldly. A show of strength. However, this was a show of strength. They naturally knew all about Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian was the external aide that Princess Tianyin had invited. Now that he had become the general of the Qin Shi Huang army in one fell swoop and even subdued the ancient city of Shou province, his power suddenly expanded and he became a popular person. As Princess Tianyin's opponent, the first prince and the Supremacy Grand Prince had come to show their strength to Chu Fengmian. They wanted to beat Chu Fengmian up. They wanted to use their status to pressure Chu Fengmian and make him kneel before them. Saints didn't need to care about this kind of etiquette, but according to the law, what they did was indeed correct. Now that Chu Fengmian had entered the imperial city for the first time, he was definitely an outsider. They didn't believe that Chu Fengmian would dare to resist them. With this show of strength, they were determined to do so. Kneel and bow? Chu Fengmian looked at the Supremacy Grand Prince with a mocking gaze. In this world, no one was worthy of Chu Fengmian kneeling and bowing. The only person Chu Fengmian had ever kneeled to in his life was his master, the master of Sword Dao. As for others, no one was worthy. That's right. Rules are rules. If head steward Chu doesn't want to bow, then go to the Hall of Penal Law today. The Supremacy Grand Prince looked at Chu Fengmian and laughed. I will personally send you to the Hall of Penal Law. A wise man doesn't fight when the odds are against him. Head steward Chu, the rules of the ancestors can't be violated. If you don't kneel today, this matter will be difficult to handle. The first prince looked at Chu Fengmian and sneered. Hearing the words of the two, Chu Fengmian's gaze became colder. Seeing the change in Chu Fengmian's gaze, the blood-kill Grand Prince wanted to say something to stop him, but he couldn't say a word. Because he had already felt the anger and majesty of Chu Fengmian. I didn't expect that there would be such a fool in the royal family of the Qin Empire. Rather than saying that Chu Fengmian's tone was angry, it was cold. It was cold with murderous intent. Damn it. Brat, you dare to insult a royal family disciple, your crime is even worse. Today, even if you kneel, your sins won't be forgiven. You must hand over all the wealth you have. As a slave of our royal family, you can't escape death. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, the Supremacy Grand Prince flew into a rage. Fool! He was a Grand Prince, one of the most powerful people in the Qin Empire. When had he ever been called a fool? Shameless old man, do you think I'm not angry because I'm afraid of you? You old bastard, you dare to go against me? Aren't you a Grand Prince? Today, I shall kill you, Great Prince. Chu Fengmian snorted and suddenly attacked. A strong dragon couldn't suppress a snake in its old haunts? Bullying others with power? He wanted Chu Fengmian to step back and kneel? What a joke. When had he, Chu Fengmian, ever been afraid of such things? Not to mention a Grand Prince, even if the Emperor of the Qin Empire came today, only death would await him if he dared to provoke Chu Fengmian. Did the Supremacy Grand Prince really think that Chu Fengmian was afraid of the royal family of the Qin Empire and wanted to show off his power? It seemed that Chu Fengmian's patience had become the capital for others to be arrogant. Today, Chu Fengmian couldn't bear it anymore. If he didn't show his strength, these people would really think that Chu Fengmian could be bullied. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. As Chu Fengmian spoke, he suddenly attacked. His right hand turned into a huge dragon claw, containing an ancient aura. It suddenly appeared and attacked the Supremacy Grand Prince. Today's update. Continue tomorrow. Chapter 351. As soon as this dragon claw appeared, an extremely ancient aura burst out from the entire imperial city. It was as if this dragon claw was summoned from an extremely ancient time and space. Facing Chu Fengmian's ancient dragon claw, there was no fear on the face of Grand Prince Supremacy. He was also a figure at the peak of the 6th level of the Divine Power Realm. He had never been afraid of anyone in the royal family of the Qin Empire. He also suddenly attacked, and a huge amount of energy burst out from his hand. Righteous path of heaven and earth. This power seemed to be enough to mobilize the power of the entire Qin Empire's earth veins. For a moment, it collided with Chu Fengmian's dragon claw in the air, and the power was dissolved together. This was the first time Chu Fengmian had seen this martial technique. It was a secret technique of the royal family of the Qin Empire. Grand Prince Supremacy easily blocked Chu Fengmian's dragon claw, and his eyes revealed some confidence. Grand Prince Supremacy's martial technique was enough to erupt with nearly twice the power in the imperial city. Therefore, even if he was at the peak of the Divine Power Realm, in terms of strength, he was close to the peak of the 7th level of the Divine Power Realm in the imperial city. He had obtained a complete victory in this test. Now, Grand Prince Supremacy was confident that he could completely defeat and suppress Chu Fengmian. Grand Prince Supremacy looked at Chu Fengmian and said, "Dragon Clan's martial technique? It seems like the rumors are true. You did have a fortuitous encounter to be able to learn the Dragon Clan's martial technique. You must have the bloodline of the true Dragon Clan in your body." He had naturally investigated Chu Fengmian's origin. To be able to contend against a saint with the wind-controlling realm, the fortuitous encounter Chu Fengmian had was definitely not small. Grand Prince Supremacy had been drooling for such a fortuitous encounter for a long time. Maybe you are a spy sent by the true Dragon Clan to harm our Qin Empire. As the Grand Prince of the Qin Empire, I must capture you today. I will bring you to the Hall of Penal Law and make you explain your origins clearly. Grand Prince Supremacy laughed loudly. Even if it's Princess Tianyin behind you, she won't be able to save you today. You've offended a member of the royal family. That's a capital offense. Now, I'll give you a chance to surrender. Tell me everything about your background and fortuitous encounters. Then, submit to the first prince and work for him as his slave. Only then will you be spared from death. The Supremacy Grand Duke laughed. Today, the time, place, and people were all on his side. He didn't believe that Chu Fengmian had any chance of making a comeback. Especially when it came to reason today, they had the upper hand. Even if Princess Tianyin were to come, she would not be able to resolve today's matter. Seizing this opportunity, the Supremacy Grand Prince wanted to capture Chu Fengmian with a fatal strike. Even if he couldn't subdue Chu Fengmian, he had to obtain the fortuitous encounter on his body. Chu Fengmian saw through the thoughts of the Supremacy Grand Duke with a single glance. Chu Fengmian couldn't help sneering in his heart. This wasn't something he wanted to cause a ruckus. However, since the Supremacy Grand Duke had schemed against him, there was no need for Chu Fengmian to endure any longer. Old man, you're quite arrogant. How dare you go against me? Today, you've reached the end of your Grand Duke title. As Chu Fengmian spoke, his palm suddenly moved. The power of 500 drops of ancient war dragon blood essence burst out from his body. His entire body instantly transformed into a true ancient war dragon. With a roar, his body suddenly collided with the Supremacy Grand Duke. Currently, 500 drops of ancient war dragon blood essence were enough for Chu Fengmian to transform into an ancient war dragon. Although it was only for a short moment, the power that burst out in that instant was extremely terrifying. This collision caused the entire royal city to tremble. The sky and earth changed color. Chu Fengmian's strength had another breakthrough in the ancient city of the Longevity Prefecture. Right now, let alone a puny Supremacy Crown Prince at the 6th level of the Divine Force Realm, even if a peak-level expert at the 7th or 8th level of the Divine Force Realm came, Chu Fengmian would still be able to fight against them. It was simply ridiculous that the Supremacy Grand Duke wanted to subdue Chu Fengmian. The power of Chu Fengmian's attack was completely different from before. This was his true strength. The previous attack couldn't even be considered a casual attack from Chu Fengmian. Although the ancient war dragon's body was instantly shattered, the power of the collision didn't weaken at all. Boom! The powerful impact made countless people's expressions turn solemn. The first prince couldn't help but take out a spiritual weapon to resist the impact. Those wind-resisting realm soldiers were now completely unable to withstand this huge pressure and knelt on the ground one after another. In an instant, all of them were subdued by Chu Fengmian. Supremacy Grand Duke, do you really think that you can defeat me? Today, you're courting death because of your stupidity. Don't blame me for being ruthless. Break for me. The ancient war dragon collided with the Supremacy Grand Duke with a loud rumble. Damn it! Earth vein power. Bless my body. This is the royal city. I'm the symbol of invincibility. I'll never be defeated. The Supremacy Grand Duke roared furiously. Chu Fengmian could feel the endless power of the earth vein strengthening the Supremacy Grand Duke's body. The royal family of the Qin Empire had operated for thousands of years. Sure enough, they had a knack for absorbing the power of the earth vein for their own use. However, this technique was far inferior to Chu Fengmian's divine vein. The Supremacy Grand Duke could only forcibly strengthen his body with the power of the earth vein. It was far inferior to Chu Fengmian, who could use the power of the earth vein to replenish his spiritual power at any time. This technique was enough to render others helpless. With the support of the earth vein, it was almost impossible to defeat the Supremacy Grand Duke. However, in front of Chu Fengmian, this little trick made Chu Fengmian sneer. You want to use the power of the earth vein to contend against me? Fine, I'll cut off the power of the earth vein. Let's see what else you can use. Chu Fengmian laughed heartily, then made a grasping motion with his hand toward the earth vein below. Ridiculous. The power of the earth vein isn't something that you outsiders can control. You want to cut it off? Who do you think you are? Even Zhao Wudi didn't dare to boast like this. The Supremacy Grand Duke said disdainfully when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. No one knew how powerful the power of the earth vein was. Their Qin Empire had operated for thousands of years before they barely understood how to borrow the power of the earth vein. However, it was extremely difficult to control it. Not to mention cutting off the power of the earth vein. Not to mention Chu Fengmian, even the #1 expert of the Qin Empire, Zhao Wudi, didn't dare to say such words. Chapter 352. In the Imperial City, Grand Prince Taidu was almost an undefeatable existence. With the support of the earth vein's power, his power was endless. Is that so? What Zhao Wudi can't do, can I? Chu Fengmian raised his eyebrows. The corners of his mouth suddenly curled up as he sneered. In his palm, a wave of spiritual energy rushed into the earth vein. The power of the divine vein was pushed to the limit. Immediately, the surrounding earth vein was sucked clean by Chu Fengmian. This Grand Prince Taidu was only using some tricks to obtain the power of the earth vein. However, Chu Fengmian had the divine vein. He could drain the surrounding earth vein's power in an instant. What? Grand Prince Taidu was originally full of confidence, but suddenly, he realized that the earth vein's power had completely disappeared. The power of the earth veins in the surroundings had completely disappeared. The power that had been added to his body had also completely shattered at this moment. Where did you come from? Only the members of the royal family of our Qin Empire can use the power of the earth vein. Who are you? Grand Prince Taidu looked at Chu Fengmian and shouted in disbelief. Chu Fengmian could actually control the power of the earth vein. How could he believe that the earth vein was equivalent to the origin of the Qin Empire? Only the royal family of the Qin Empire and those with the royal bloodline could use it. How could Chu Fengmian do it? Old man, do you still have time to talk nonsense? Undefeatable Dragon Fist. Chu Fengmian didn't explain. He didn't want to expose the secret of his divine vein. Moreover, he had nothing to explain to this Grand Prince Taidu. With a backhand punch, he suddenly charged towards the Supremacy Grand Prince. The appearance of this punch made Grand Prince Taidu panic for a moment. Just now, the earth vein was broken, and his mind was in a mess. When he encountered this punch, he couldn't react at all. He hurriedly gathered his spiritual energy to block it, but in an instant, he was sent flying. How could the little bit of spiritual energy he gathered in a panic contend against Chu Fengmian's punch? He wasn't Chu Fengmian's opponent even with his full strength, let alone now. Grand Prince Taidu's heart was in a mess. Supremacy Grand Prince, do you really think you have me in your grasp? Unfortunately, you don't understand how weak you are in front of me. The earth veins that you rely on are not even worth mentioning in front of me. It's time for you to pay the price today. Chu Fengmian looked at the Supremacy Grand Prince with killing intent in his eyes. To dare target Chu Fengmian like this, the Supremacy Prince was already a dead man in Chu Fengmian's heart. Chu Fengmian had no interest in clashing with the royal family of the Qin Kingdom, but that didn't mean that he was afraid of them. Whoever dared to provoke him would be his enemy. You. Who are you? Why did you sneak into our Qin Kingdom? What about Princess Tianyin? Why would he recruit you? You've led the wolf into the house, you've really led the wolf into the house. The Supremacy Great Prince roared madly. Princess Tianyin must be a traitor too. She tried to recruit you. The ambition of a wolf. His intentions are worthy of death. Lead a wolf into the house? It's just that you guys are stupid. Hearing the Supremacy Great Prince's words, Chu Fengmian sneered. Chu Fengmian's original enemy was only family Zhao. It could be said that he had no conflict with the royal family. However, the Supremacy Great Prince and the First Prince wanted to take advantage of Chu Fengmian. If they took the initiative to provoke Chu Fengmian naturally wouldn't submit to humiliation. If he did, he wouldn't be Chu Fengmian. You still want to use the power of the earth veins? Chu Fengmian looked at the Supremacy Great Prince. The Supremacy Great Prince's spiritual energy exploded. It seemed that he wanted to use the power of the earth veins to contend against Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian raised his sleeve and snorted coldly. The power of the earth veins was once again sucked dry by his divine veins. At the same time, Chu Fengmian threw another punch at the Supremacy Great Prince. Boom! The Supremacy Great Prince was sent flying with a single move. He spat out a mouthful of blood, but the shock on his face didn't diminish. The earth veins were the most powerful method of the royal family of the Qin Kingdom. It was precisely by relying on this method that the royal family had the capital to contend against family Zhao. Otherwise, Zhao Wudi alone would be enough to sweep away the royal family. Now, Chu Fengmian's appearance had broken their most powerful and secret method without any effort. How could he accept this? This person is definitely the greatest threat to our royal family. If we don't kill him, there will be endless trouble in the future. The Supremacy Great Prince's eyes were filled with killing intent as he let out a long roar. Someone is rebelling. Come quickly. His long roar immediately spread throughout the entire imperial city. This was the imperial city of the Qin Kingdom. All the experts of the royal family of the Qin Kingdom were gathered here. Today, he had to take advantage of the fact that Chu Fengmian was still in the imperial city to gather people to deal with him. No matter how powerful and mysterious Chu Fengmian was, he was only one person. The Supremacy Great Prince didn't believe that Chu Fengmian could contend against all the experts of the Qin Kingdom by himself. Brat, so what if you've hidden your strength today? Zhao Wudi dares to enter the imperial city. Only death awaits him. Today, you will die without a doubt. Looking at the streaks of light flying over, the Supremacy Great Prince laughed loudly. You want me to die? Then I'll kill you first. Chu Fengmian's expression was extremely calm. Since he dared to enter the imperial city, he wouldn't be afraid of the royal family of the Qin Kingdom. Chu Fengmian's expression revealed a hint of malevolence. Suddenly, he moved his feet and took a step forward. His body suddenly appeared in front of the Supremacy Great Prince. He stretched out his hand, and endless spiritual energy condensed in Chu Fengmian's hand. Battle Dragon Claw. Chu Fengmian's left hand instantly transformed into the claw of an ancient battle dragon. Suddenly, he grabbed at the Supremacy Great Prince. When the Supremacy Great Prince saw Chu Fengmian approaching, the spiritual energy in his body also erupted, wanting to resist. However, how could the spiritual energy he condensed be a match for the Battle Dragon Claw? In an instant, it shattered in front of the Battle Dragon Claw. His body was in Chu Fengmian's hands. No matter how he resisted, he couldn't escape. Didn't you want me to die? I'd like to see who will die first today. Let go of the Supremacy Great Prince. Brat, do you not want to live anymore? A few saints rushed over when they heard the news. They just happened to see the Supremacy Great Prince in Chu Fengmian's hands. They hurriedly urged their spiritual energy, wanting to attack Chu Fengmian. Humph. You want to save him? A bunch of ants dare to attack. Die for me. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. Suddenly, his right hand moved. It also transformed into a dragon claw and directly swung over. Chapter 353. Chu Fengmian showed no mercy in this dragon claw attack. Chu Fengmian's dragon claw attack was something that even the Supremacy Grand Prince, who was at the 6th level of the Divine Power Realm, could not withstand, let alone these saints, who were only at the 1st or 2nd level of the Divine Power Realm. Under Chu Fengmian's claw attack, the countless martial skills that they unleashed were all shattered. With a claw attack, those saints fell at the same time, turning into countless blood mists in the air. Oh no! This is really bad. The Prince of Bloodkill's face turned pale when he saw this scene. These saints were the dukes and marquises of the Qin Empire. They were all overlords, but now they were all killed by Chu Fengmian. This is bad. Inform Princess Tianyin quickly. Otherwise, today's matter will not end well. The Prince of Bloodkill hurriedly sent a message to Princess Tianyin. On the other side, the first prince saw Chu Fengmian killing so many experts with a wave of his hand, and his face was filled with extreme anger. These experts were people that he had roped in for a long time. Now, they were all killed by Chu Fengmian in order to fight for the throne. It could be said that the first prince's countless wealth and efforts were all destroyed by Chu Fengmian. How could he not be angry? Brat, you deserve to die, the first prince said while gritting his teeth. He could not wait to kill Chu Fengmian right now. First prince, it's your plan to show me who's in charge, right? Do you think you can suppress me? Chu Fengmian looked at the first prince and said calmly. The plan to suppress Chu Fengmian must be the first prince's idea. Other than him, no one else could mobilize the supremacy Grand Prince. Chu Fengmian would certainly not let the culprit go. Aren't you the first prince of the Qin Empire? You have a noble status and are extremely arrogant. You want me to kneel down and greet you? I think the one who should kneel down is you. Chu Fengmian moved his right hand and pressed down on the first prince's body. A great pressure pressed down on him, forcing him to kneel down. Ah! The first prince was unable to withstand the immense pressure. His clothes suddenly shone and condensed a surge of spiritual energy to resist Chu Fengmian's pressure. The clothes on the first prince's body were all high-grade spiritual weapons. To be able to withstand Chu Fengmian's pressure, they had to be at least of the earth grade. An earth-grade spiritual artifact for protection? What's the use of this little spiritual weapon? Break! Chu Fengmian chuckled coldly. With a thought, he increased the pressure, causing the crown prince's spirit item to shatter. With the spirit weapon shattered, the first prince was now completely naked. His entire body was clean, without a trace of concealment. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the first prince knelt on the ground in a pathetic manner. Humiliation. To the first prince, this was an extreme humiliation. The hair on his body stood on end, showing the anger in his heart. He was the first prince of the Qin Empire. In the future, he might become the crown prince and inherit the throne. To be kneeling on the ground naked in front of so many people in the imperial city was simply humiliating to the extreme. This was much more unbearable than killing him. The more honorable a person was, the more painful it was to be forced to kneel on the ground and humiliate their pride. This was even more painful than death. Chu Fengmian knew this very well. For a proud person like him, he would rather die if he had to kneel. When Chu Fengmian had first entered the imperial city, the first prince had wanted to intimidate Chu Fengmian and force him to kneel down. Now, Chu Fengmian was only giving the first prince a taste of his own medicine. He wanted to let the first prince taste the feeling of humiliation. This is too scary. Too scary. Is this real? The first prince is kneeling on the ground naked? Lawless. This person is really lawless. Even Zhao Wudi wouldn't dare to do such a crazy thing. This is no ordinary person. It's the first prince. It's said that the emperor already has the intention of passing the crown prince position to him. Today, he was forced to kneel in front of this person. Does this person really want to go against the imperial family? Even the supremacy Grand Prince is no match for this person. It's not like he doesn't have the strength to go against the imperial family. The world is going to change. This time, it's really going to change. This was the imperial city, a place densely packed with people. Now, the scene of the first prince kneeling was witnessed by countless people. These people spoke one after another. Everyone had different thoughts, but they were all shocked by the scene in front of them. Chu Fengmian's personality was too domineering. Regardless of the other party's identity, as long as they provoked Chu Fengmian, they would receive swift and decisive revenge. Chu Fengmian didn't even put the first prince in his eyes. This was the imperial city, but Chu Fengmian dared to be arrogant and unafraid of any rules. He even killed several Saint Dukes of the Qin Empire. This was simply a provocation to the entire Qin Empire. If they didn't give an explanation today, the status of the Qin Empire's imperial family would plummet. They would no longer have any dignity to speak of. Chu Fengmian, you, Princess Tianyin rushed over. When she saw everything in front of her, her eyes were filled with extreme shock. She didn't know what to say. When she knew that the first prince and the supremacy grand prince were prepared to show off their strength to Chu Fengmian, she felt that something was wrong. With Chu Fengmian's personality, he definitely wouldn't submit obediently. She knew this clearly. However, she didn't expect Chu Fengmian's methods to be so vicious. He seriously injured the supremacy grand prince, killed several Saint Dukes, and even made the first prince kneel naked on the ground. Every single one of these things was a great crime that was taboo. It was not something that she could resolve. Chu Fengmian, how about you release the supremacy grand prince and the first prince first? Princess Tianyin quickly calmed down. No matter how bad today's matter was, it hadn't reached the limit. As long as Chu Fengmian didn't kill the supremacy grand prince and the first prince, this matter wasn't impossible to resolve. Release the two of them? Chu Fengmian glanced at the supremacy grand prince and the first prince and suddenly sneered. These two want to scheme against me. Even if I release them today, I'll cripple their cultivation first. The moment Chu Fengmian spoke, he suddenly condensed spiritual energy in his hand. Just as he was about to attack, a figure flew out from the depths of the imperial city. Have mercy! This person was dressed in white and was in high spirits. Although he was already middle-aged, he was extremely spirited. Grand Prince Wu Xian. Thank you very much for the reward, Uncle Su. Chapter 354. Great Prince Wu Xian suddenly appeared. Wasn't he in seclusion for a long time to comprehend the 8th level of the Divine Force realm? Why did he suddenly appear? Seems like the royal family can't suppress this person. They actually asked Great Prince Wu Xian for help. I wonder who's stronger between this person and Great Prince Wu Xian. Great Prince Wu Xian should be stronger. After all, Great Prince Wu Xian is an expert at the peak of the 7th level of the Divine Force realm. He's one of the top figures in the Qin Empire. No matter how strong this person is, he can't be stronger than Great Prince Wu Xian. An expert from the royal family has finally appeared? Chu Fengmian looked at Great Prince Wu Xian and thought to himself. There were indeed hidden experts in the royal family of the Qin Empire. Great Prince Wu Xian should be one of them. However, an expert like him should be an old antique. He usually cultivated in seclusion and rarely appeared. It seemed like Chu Fengmian had caused a huge commotion today to draw him out. Looking at Great Prince Wu Xian, Chu Fengmian's body started to emit spiritual energy. Great Prince Wu Xian's strength was even higher than Ao Zhenyuan's. He was a formidable opponent for Chu Fengmian. Seeing the white-clothed middle-aged man, the first prince's eyes seemed to see the light as he shouted. Great Prince Wu Xian, kill him quickly. This brat has no respect for anyone and provoked the royal family. He's guilty of a heinous crime. If we don't kill him, the royal family of the Qin Empire will lose face. Shut up. Before the first prince had even finished speaking, the next scene was completely unexpected. Great Prince Wu Xian came to the first prince's side. Not only did he fail to save the first prince, he even slapped the first prince's face. This scene caused everyone present to be shocked. It was as if they did not understand what had happened. Even the first prince was taken aback. Great Commander Chu Han, the first prince was reckless and offended you. Please don't forgive a junior. This is a gift from the Emperor. Please let the two of them go this time. Great Prince Wu Xian looked at Chu Fengmian calmly. With a move of his hand, a huge vat flew over. The vat was filled with blood. However, the blood was faintly golden. It didn't have the smell of blood. Instead, it was fragrant. Demonic god blood essence? Chu Fengmian took the vat and immediately understood what was inside. It was a vat full of demon god blood essence. Furthermore, it was of an extremely high grade. It was definitely not the kind of saint who had just broken through to make up the numbers. This is the essence blood of a black wind demonic deity that our Qin Empire killed in a war. Now, I'll give it to Great Commander Chu Han as an apology. Black wind demonic god. He actually died. That's a famous demon god from the Joshi country. It's said to be a dark water frost snake that was about to transform into a dragon. It has a cultivation base at the 6th level of the Divine Force realm, yet it was actually killed by Qin Wenyan. The blood essence of the Black Wind demonic god is worth at least 1,000,000,009 cauldron pills in the outside world. The imperial family actually gave it away, and to this person at that. What exactly is going on? Could it be that the royal family wants to rope this person in, so they gave this blood essence to him? That's possible. Right now, the royal family's power is weak. There's no benefit in provoking such a powerful enemy. Some of the onlookers started discussing when they saw this scene. Not only did Great Prince Wu Xian not clash with Chu Fengmian, but he even gave Chu Fengmian a gift, as if he wanted to rope Chu Fengmian in. This caused everyone to be extremely surprised. Seeing Chu Fengmian accept the Black Wind Saint's essence blood, Great Prince Wu Xian turned his head and looked at the first prince. Great Commander Chu Han is a great contributor to the Empire. You actually offended him. Why aren't you apologizing to him? Great Prince Wu Xian shouted at the first prince while secretly giving him a look. At the same time, a surge of spiritual energy released the pressure on the first prince, allowing him to stand up. Why aren't you apologizing? Yes. The first prince was extremely unwilling in his heart. However, under the pressure of Great Prince Wu Xian, he could only apologize. Great Commander Chu Han, I've offended you this time. Please forgive me. Chu Fengmian looked at Great Prince Wu Xian as if he was thinking about something. Then, he nodded. With a wave of his hand, he threw Great Prince Tai Do, who was in his hand, away. I'm well aware of your schemes. If you dare to scheme against me again, there won't be a next time. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. Scram! Great Prince Wu Xian's face revealed a trace of anger when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. However, he quickly calmed down. Great Prince Wu Xian didn't waste any more words. He immediately left with the first prince and Great Prince Tai Do. Let's go! Princess Tianyin had not expected such an outcome. Great Prince Wu Xian had actually intervened. However, there was finally an end to today's matter. Her figure flashed and she left. At the same time, Chu Fengmian and Great Prince Shuaisha also left. Great Prince Wu Xian, why didn't you capture that brat just now? He humiliated me like this. This is simply a heinous crime. We should have captured him and interrogated him about all his opportunities. Then, we should have reduced him to a slave. After returning to the mansion, the first prince spoke to Great Prince Wu Xian in dissatisfaction. Great Prince Wu Xian's attitude towards Chu Fengmian made the first prince extremely dissatisfied. He even apologized to Chu Fengmian. This made the first prince feel extremely humiliated. He couldn't wait to skin Chu Fengmian and pull out his tendons. Even if this old man took action, I still couldn't capture him. Great Prince Wu Xian couldn't help but shake his head when he heard the first prince's words. What? Even you couldn't capture him? You are an existence that can contend against Zhao Wudi in the imperial city. You even forced Zhao Wudi to leave when he came to cause trouble. The first prince looked at Great Prince Wu Xian and said in disbelief. Great Prince Wu Xian was definitely an invincible figure in the imperial family of the Qin Empire. He was the one who took action and resolved the crisis when Zhao Wudi came to cause trouble in the imperial city. Someone who could even force Zhao Wudi to leave couldn't do anything to Chu Fengmian. The first prince couldn't believe that a person who appeared out of nowhere could be so powerful. I forced Zhao Wudi to leave by relying on the power of the earth vein. However, it's useless against this brat. If he can resolve Taido's power of the earth vein, he can naturally resolve mine as well. Great Prince Wu Xian said in a deep voice. Moreover, I'm here under the Emperor's orders to save the two of you. What? This matter has alarmed the Emperor? The first prince was shocked when he heard Great Prince Wu Xian's words. Chapter 355. The Emperor of the Qin Empire was a mysterious existence. It was said that his realm had reached the peak of the Saint Realm. Like Zhao Wudi, he was trying to break through to the life and death realm. Even the first prince rarely saw him. Who would have thought that Great Prince Wu Xian was here on the Emperor's orders? The appearance of such a figure in the Qin Empire would of course alarm His Majesty. This person's strength is extremely strange. He is only in the wind-controlling realm, which is enough for him to contend with a saint. Even the greatest trump card of our royal family, the ley lines, would be neutralized by him. Great Prince Wu Xian couldn't help but frown at this point. He still couldn't understand how Chu Fengmian managed to neutralize the Earth Vein's power. The only thing he was sure of was that Chu Fengmian was a great threat to the royal family. With such strength, Chu Fengmian could overthrow the royal family. Compared to family Zhao, he was more of a threat. This person was recruited by Princess Tianyin. We still don't know where he came from. However, since he was able to subdue 2 legions, he's definitely not an ordinary person. His Majesty has already invited the first prince into the palace to plan how to deal with this person in the imperial court tomorrow. Yes. Hearing Great Prince Wu Xian's words, the first prince nodded. He followed Great Prince Wu Xian to the imperial palace. On the other side, Chu Fengmian followed Princess Tianyin to her residence. Young Master Chu, don't you think you've gone overboard today? Princess Tianyin looked at Chu Fengmian and said helplessly. She thought that she still had a way to control Chu Fengmian. However, the strength that Chu Fengmian had displayed was not something she could control. If Great Prince Wu Xian hadn't appeared, a huge battle would have broken out today. Tomorrow, you and I will enter the imperial court to meet His Majesty. Since you've dealt with the first prince today, he'll definitely use this as an excuse to attack you tomorrow. At that time, things won't be easy. Overboard? The first prince and Great Prince Taido provoked me. This punishment is already the lightest. If I really went overboard, I wouldn't have given Great Prince Wu Xian a chance to take them away. Chu Fengmian sat on the chair and said calmly. Facing Princess Tianyin, he did not feel any pressure. Currently, he was only working together with Princess Tianyin, and they were not in a subordinate relationship. I have my own way of doing things. If I tolerate it today, it will be difficult for me. I have now unified the ancient city of Shou province, and I'm the leader of the Qin Shi Huang army and the Destruction army. If I back down now, people will see it for themselves. Chu Fengmian said. Furthermore, the first prince is also your opponent. It'll be beneficial for you if I take care of him. That's true, but you're not a member of the royal family after all. If you rashly get involved, you'll be caught red-handed. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Princess Tianyin smiled helplessly. Right now, I'm not in a good position in the royal family of the Qin Empire. Even though I'm the successor of the royal family on the surface, it's all because of my father. How could those old fogies of the royal family allow a woman like me to sit on the throne? Even though the first prince hasn't been appointed as the crown prince, he's been hiding. He wants me to face the crisis, while the first prince can sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor. When Princess Tianyin said that, her tone was filled with anger and helplessness. In the eyes of the crowd, the first successor of the royal family of the Qin Empire should be Princess Tianyin. Compared to Princess Tianyin, the first prince rarely appeared. Furthermore, he had not been appointed as the crown prince. Countless people guessed that this was Princess Tianyin's attitude when she wanted to sit on the throne. However, in reality, the only person who knew all of this was Princess Tianyin herself. She knew very well that the first prince's strength was not inferior to hers. In fact, he was even stronger than her. That was because the first prince had the support of countless old fogies of the royal family. Even if Princess Tianyin controlled the Qin Shi Huang army, she might not be able to compete with the first prince. The first prince was deliberately concealing his strength so that he could push Princess Tianyin out as a target. Although Princess Tianyin knew all of this, there was nothing she could do. Today's matter will definitely make some old fogies in the royal family lean more towards the first prince. Furthermore, your origins are really too mysterious. They definitely won't allow you to become the grand commander of these two great legions. If I'm not wrong, the first prince will use your identity to attack you in the imperial court tomorrow. At that time, with those old fogies by the side, your position might be taken away. After saying all of this, Princess Tianyin could not help but look at Chu Fengmian. She wanted to see Chu Fengmian's expression. However, she was disappointed. Chu Fengmian's expression did not change at all. Although all of this was said by Princess Tianyin, Chu Fengmian had already guessed most of it. The Qin Empire would definitely not allow a woman to sit on the throne. Chu Fengmian naturally knew that the two great princes, Taida Great Prince and Wu Xian Great Prince, were important in the Qin Empire. Now that they supported the first prince, it could be said that they had already expressed the attitude of the royal family of the Qin Empire. All of this is within my consideration. Want to take away my position? Let's see if they have the ability to do so. Chu Fengmian sneered. The Qin Empire Legion and the ancient city of Shou Province were taken down by him with great effort. Now that the royal family wanted to take away everything from Chu Fengmian, how could it be that easy? Although Chu Fengmian's enemy was family Zhao, since the royal family of the Qin Empire wanted to obstruct him, Chu Fengmian would deal with the royal family first. Chu Fengmian did not want anyone to stab him in the back. Oh? You have a way? Princess Tianyin could not help but be surprised when she heard Chu Fengmian's confident words. Among the old fogies in the royal family, who are the other experts? Chu Fengmian did not answer, but asked instead. Experts who are stronger than Great Prince Wu Xian. Great Prince Wu Xian is already the top expert in our royal family. Apart from him, there's only Great Prince Wu Xian who is at the 8th level of Divine Power Realm. Other than him, there are some peak saints who do not care about worldly affairs and comprehended the life and death calamity. Princess Tianyin thought for a while and said, "What? Do you want to go against the royal family?" Chapter 356. In the royal family of our Qin Empire, my father, the current emperor, is the one who hides the deepest. Now that the two hidden experts, Grand Prince Taidu and Grand Prince Wu Xian, have appeared, it's highly possible that he already knows about you. Princess Tianyin said worriedly. Chu Fengmian's identity was a little special. Not only was he not a disciple of the royal family, he wasn't even from the Qin Empire. During the war between the 6 countries, Chu Fengmian was from the Wuxin country, which made him an enemy of the Qin Empire. If Chu Fengmian's identity was found out, Princess Tianyin couldn't avoid being labeled as a traitor. Then, she wouldn't be able to make a comeback. Don't worry. As long as it's someone with the strength of a peak saint, they wouldn't act recklessly. If there's only a level 8 Divine Power Realm Grand Prince, it's not impossible to deal with him. Chu Fengmian sneered. I know that you also want the throne. Do you want to give it to the first prince for nothing? It's meaningless for you to endure it now. Of course, I know that. But my strength is far from enough to go against the royal family. Princess Tianyin said in a deep voice. It wasn't that she didn't want to resist, but her strength was far from enough to shake the foundation of the royal family. The royal family of the Qin Empire could survive for 1,000 years. Their foundation wasn't something she could shake. I'm confident that I can let you enter the imperial court. Chu Fengmian suddenly said. We can wait for tomorrow's imperial court. Today, we'll kill the first prince. What did you say? Princess Tianyin frowned when she heard Chu Fengmian's words. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Kill the first prince today? This was simply crazy to the extreme. But if the first prince was killed, Princess Tianyin's only competitor would be gone. Her chances of entering the royal family would also be much higher. But how could they kill the first prince? It wasn't easy to kill the first prince. He had many experts around him. Now, he even had Grand Prince Taidu and Grand Prince Wu Xian protecting him. Killing the first prince was as difficult as ascending the heavens. And this matter was crazy to the extreme. Once Chu Fengmian took action, Chu Fengmian and the royal family of the Qin Empire would become mortal enemies. Are you confident? Princess Tianyin calmed down quickly and analyzed the situation. Since she was able to become someone chosen by the royal family of the Qin Empire, she was not a weakling. He quickly analyzed the gains and losses. Killing the first prince was indeed the simplest and best way to accomplish this. With her opponent dead, Princess Tianyin naturally did not need to fight for anything. However, this plan was not that easy to realize. There was only one chance. If it failed, it would be a complete failure. There would not be a second chance. Of course I am confident. Even with Great Prince Wu Xian and Great Prince supremacy here, I still have a way to kill the first prince. Chu Fengmian sneered. If he were to kill the first prince now, he definitely wouldn't expect it. After all, Chu Fengmian had such a good opportunity, but he didn't make a move. The reason why Chu Fengmian did not make a move earlier was not only because of the appearance of Great Prince Wu Xian. Chu Fengmian also felt that an extremely profound and powerful existence was also watching this place. This should be the Qin Emperor of the Qin Empire, the pinnacle saint. Even if Chu Fengmian attacked, he wouldn't stand a chance. However, if he were to make a move now, he would definitely be able to kill the first prince before the Qin Emperor could react. Chu Fengmian was a vengeful person. The first prince had angered Chu Fengmian, and it wasn't something that could be appeased by a little saint's blood essence. Princess Tianyin remained silent for a long time, as if she was considering the gains and losses. After a long while, her gaze became incomparably resolute. All right, I'll take this gamble. Success or failure depends on this. Princess Tianyin said. This was her last hope, and it was worth her gamble. What should I do? Chu Fengmian did not waste any time and asked directly. Princess Tianyin, it's not difficult for you to summon the first prince to your residence. When he arrives, I'll make a move to kill him. Princess Tianyin nodded and secretly sent a voice transmission. He's here. All right. Chu Fengmian quietly concealed himself and stood at the side. Not long after, two figures descended from the sky. It was the first prince and Great Prince supremacy. What's wrong? Royal sister, are you looking for me for something? Could it be that you know you're going to lose? You don't want to resist me anymore? Are you going to be a puppet obediently? The first prince descended from the sky. When he saw Princess Tianyin, he immediately laughed. Just now, my father has summoned me to make me the crown prince. You don't have any chance. So what if you brought a strange kid? You're going to lose. What? Hearing the first prince's words, Princess Tianyin was stunned. She then said in disbelief. Impossible. The Qin Empire had never had a crown prince. It was because of this that Princess Tianyin and the first prince had been fighting for this position. Now, the result of the fight had not been decided yet, and the first prince was going to be made the crown prince. This was simply a defeat for Princess Tianyin without a fight. How could she believe it? Although Princess Tianyin was just a puppet, she had always wanted to fight for the throne. However, the first prince's words woke her up. In the end, she was just a puppet that had been pushed out. The position of the emperor was not something that she could touch. That's right, Princess Tianyin. The first prince has been made the crown prince by His Majesty. Everything will be announced in the imperial court tomorrow. You don't have to fight anymore. Just hand over the military power of the Qin Emperor army. And where's that kid you brought? Hand him over too. The Grand Prince snorted coldly. He hated Chu Fengmian to the bone. With his status, he had never been controlled by anyone before. This made him hate Chu Fengmian. Sister, you don't have to struggle anymore. You're just a puppet. A puppet should do its job well. Do you really think you can inherit the throne? Naive. The first prince laughed and looked at Princess Tianyin. He had the attitude of a victor. First prince, do you really think that you've won? Princess Tianyin looked at the first prince and said angrily. She had schemed for everything. In order to fight for the throne, she had sacrificed a lot. Now, with a single sentence, everything was gone. She had thought that the Qin Emperor would give her a chance. Unfortunately, it was all fake. Everything will end in the imperial court tomorrow. Your military power will be removed, and that kid will be suppressed. What else do you have to rely on? The first prince laughed heartily. It's a pity that you'll be the first to die. Chapter 357. A voice suddenly appeared beside the first prince. The moment the voice appeared, the surrounding space was immediately sealed. Who is it? The Supremacy Grand Prince immediately sensed that something was wrong. With his strength, he actually couldn't detect the person who suddenly appeared. It's you? The first prince looked in the direction of the voice and suddenly saw Chu Fengmian. You little bastard, you still dare to come out? You actually dared to ambush me. You're still in the Imperial City. This is a great crime. Sister, you actually want to rebel with this person. How audacious. It seems like you're courting death. The one who's going to die is you, first prince. Chu Fengmian looked at the first prince and said coldly. Do you really think I'll let you go? I said that I'll kill you. Today, you will undoubtedly die. Undefeatable Dragon Fist. Boom! Chu Fengmian suddenly attacked and punched out. Endless dragon might surrounded him. This punch exploded at such a close distance. Its power was simply terrifying. Righteous path of heaven and earth. The Supremacy Grand Prince also hurriedly attacked. He condensed a fist and punched out at the same time. The two fists collided in the air. The Supremacy Grand Prince's fist wind was instantly destroyed. In a confrontation of strength, the Supremacy Grand Prince was far from being Chu Fengmian's opponent. Chu Fengmian's current strength was enough to defeat a saint at the 7th level of the Divine Power Realm. He could even contend with a saint at the 8th level of the Divine Power Realm. The Supremacy Grand Prince's strength was only at the peak of the 6th level of the Divine Power Realm. How could he be Chu Fengmian's opponent? The Supremacy Grand Prince was sent flying. He spat out a bit of blood and shouted at Chu Fengmian. Kid, do you know? You're rebelling. The first prince has already been appointed as the crown prince. You're simply stupid to still be his enemy. Hurry up and kneel. Submitting to the first prince is your only way out. Joke? Appointed as the crown prince? Even if he becomes the emperor of the Qin Empire, I'll still kill him today. Chu Fengmian heard the Supremacy Grand Prince's words and said with disdain. Supremacy Grand Prince, do you think everyone is like you, willing to be a dog? You also had a part in the previous matter. Since you came to stop me, I'll kill you first. Chu Fengmian waved his hand, and a wave of spirit energy suppressed the eldest prince, preventing him from moving. At the same time, with a thought, the scarlet flame sword suddenly appeared in his hand. Chu Fengmian didn't use his sword when he was making a ruckus in the Imperial City. He was hiding his strength. Now that they were in Princess Tianyin's residence, Chu Fengmian didn't need to hide anymore. The two of them were going to die today. Slaughter. Boundless killing intent burst out from Chu Fengmian's body, making him look like a peerless god of death. Anyone who saw and felt the killing intent from Chu Fengmian would be terrified to the extreme. At the same time, this blood qi also condensed on the scarlet flame sword. Die! As Chu Fengmian's sword fell, the boundless blood qi was compressed to a size of 10 meters. If the blood qi were to erupt completely, it would be tens of thousands of meters tall. However, it had been compressed to a size of 10 meters in Chu Fengmian's hands. Every time it was compressed by 10 meters, the power of the bloody scar would double. Tens of thousands of meters of blood qi was compressed to a size of 10 meters. This bloody scar didn't look like blood qi anymore. Instead, it looked like it was real and had a metallic pattern. This was the masterpiece of the massacre sword art. 10 meters of bloody scar was greater than tens of thousands of meters. Massacre heaven and earth, uncanny workmanship. The 10 meters of bloody scar suddenly struck towards the Supremacy Grand Prince. Hiss! Almost in an instant, the Supremacy Grand Prince's moves were shattered layer by layer in front of the 10 meters of bloody scar. They were all devoured in an instant. The massacre sword art was known as a sword art that surpassed the heaven realm. Although Chu Fengmian hadn't reached perfection and couldn't summon the true massacre god, he had reached greater mastery. This power wasn't something a small Supremacy Grand Prince could withstand. This 10 meters of bloody scar had already cut the Supremacy Grand Prince in half at the waist. Endless saint blood essence flowed out and was devoured by the bloody scar. But even so, the Supremacy Grand Prince still didn't die. This was because the vitality of a saint was simply terrifying to the extreme. If he wasn't completely killed and turned into ashes, he could recover no matter how great his injuries were. It was just that it would take a lot of time. Supremacy Grand Prince, killing you is no different from crushing an ant. You still want to threaten me? Chu Fengmian looked at the Supremacy Grand Prince and sneered. I have no interest in participating in the affairs of your royal family. However, you have provoked me today. Your good days will come to an end. After you die, remember to repent. Brat! You dare to kill us? Our royal family won't let you go. Our royal family has countless experts. If you kill us today, you won't be able to escape. The Supremacy Grand Prince was still stubborn when he was about to die. He shouted loudly at Chu Fengmian. Don't be stubborn. Release the first prince now and then kill yourself. This is the best result for you. Otherwise, you won't be able to die even if you want to. Our royal family's experts will make you beg for death. Even Zhao Wudi's son died in my hands. Do you think I'm afraid of the threat of your royal family? Chu Fengmian smiled contemptuously. Supremacy Grand Prince, do you really think that your royal family is invincible? Your royal family is just an ant in the entire 9 regions. Even the 7 major sects can't threaten me. Who do you think you are? Isn't that right? Your death is the best repentance for your sins. Chu Fengmian couldn't be bothered to continue talking nonsense. He slashed with the scarlet flame sword in his hand. The Supremacy Grand Prince's body shattered layer by layer. His endless blood essence was devoured. The Supremacy Grand Prince actually died just like that. Princess Tianyin couldn't help but be stunned when she saw this scene. In Princess Tianyin's opinion, the Supremacy Grand Prince was simply an ancestor. He was an invincible figure in the royal family of the Qin Empire. Now, he died in Chu Fengmian's hands just like that. He didn't even struggle or resist. An expert at the peak of the 6th level of the Divine Force realm couldn't resist Chu Fengmian at all. This kind of strength shocked her. At the same time, she also felt deep fear. She realized that she couldn't control Chu Fengmian at all. An old man. So what if he's dead? He deserves to die for going against me. Chu Fengmian said coldly. His eyes fell on the first prince. Say it. How do you want to die? I won't die. I have the Jade Talisman condensed by my royal father. Don't even think about killing me. I will tell my royal father about what happened today. At that time, you and her will both die. The first prince roared loudly. There was no fear on his face. There was a jade talisman in his hand. Chapter 358. This jade talisman was the trump card given to him by Emperor Qin Shi Huang. That was the reason why he was not afraid. The two of you just wait. Soon, the two of you will meet your end. The first prince roared as he took out the jade talisman and crushed it. A force of space wrapped around the first prince as if it was going to take him away. Oh no, this is the space jade talisman made by father. He will be directly teleported to the palace. When Imperial Father finds out about this, the two of us will be completely finished. Princess Tianin's face changed when she saw the jade talisman. For today's plan, they had to kill the first prince. If the first prince escaped, all their preparations would be in vain. Don't worry. You want to escape from my hands with such a small jade talisman? Chu Fengmian snorted and grabbed with his hand. Come back. Just as the first prince's figure entered the void, Chu Fengmian made his move. Chu Fengmian's hand suddenly reached deep into the space. Suddenly, a figure was grabbed by Chu Fengmian and pulled out of the space. No matter how much the space jade talisman exploded, the first prince was still in Chu Fengmian's hand. He could not move at all. You can't escape from me. Do you know that? Do you think that you can be fearless with this jade talisman? What a joke. Since you don't want to choose your death, I will choose one for you. Chu Fengmian grabbed the first prince and laughed. Being grabbed by Chu Fengmian, the first prince's face changed completely. The confidence on his face was gone and was replaced by endless fear. He was confident and fearless because of the jade talisman. That jade talisman was made by Emperor Qin Shi Huang himself. He did not expect that a jade talisman made by a peak saint would be so easily destroyed by Chu Fengmian. What was invincible? Princess Tianin saw invincibility in Chu Fengmian. He was truly invincible. Die. Chu Fengmian spat out a word and clenched his hand. Suddenly, the first prince's body started to twist crazily in his hand. I will not die. I am the crown prince of the Qin Empire, the one who will inherit the throne in the future. How can I die? The first prince roared crazily. Even now, he still didn't believe that he would die, but Chu Fengmian didn't give him any chance. Lin Fan exerted strength in his palm and the first prince's body was about to be crushed. Bang! Blood qi exploded out as the vile prince was crushed to death by Chu Fengmian. The first prince's death caused everyone to calm down. However, a moment later, an extremely powerful force erupted from the depths of the imperial city. This was a terrifying existence at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. It suddenly appeared, and it was filled with endless anger. Who dares to kill my son? The moment this voice rang out, the entire royal city shook. When Princess Tianin heard this voice, she started trembling. It's Imperial Father. He's awake. This voice belonged to none other than the Emperor of the Qin Empire, Emperor Qin Huang. A peak saint was a terrifying expert capable of attacking the life and death realm. Rascal! Come out! As soon as Emperor Qin Huang appeared, he suddenly waved his hand, and a surge of spiritual energy shot toward Princess Tianin's courtyard. This surge of spiritual energy instantly shattered the surrounding space that Chu Fengmian had sealed. Go! After killing the first prince and Grand Prince Taidu, Chu Fengmian had achieved his goal. He wanted to take advantage of the time before Emperor Qin Huang furiously chased after him to escape. With Chu Fengmian's current strength, he was still far from being able to contend against a peak saint like Emperor Qin Huang. Chu Fengmian's figure suddenly moved, and he turned into a streak of light, hurriedly flying away. His escape light was extremely fast. Using the phantom body technique, he broke through the space and escaped. Little bastard! You dare to escape? In the blink of an eye, the Qin Emperor had sensed Chu Fengmian's aura. Naturally, he knew who had killed the first prince. The first prince was Emperor Qin Huang's most beloved son. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen him to be the crown prince. Today, the first prince's death had simply made Emperor Qin Huang go crazy, and he was completely furious. As Emperor Qin Huang, a peak saint, he actually let someone kill the first prince in the imperial city. This made him angry and resentful. His feet moved, and he also activated his escape light, broke through space, and chased after Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian's speed left the imperial city in an instant. He passed through space, and in an instant, he traveled 100 miles. However, Emperor Qin Huang's speed was also shockingly fast. Almost at the same time, he also left the imperial city, and chased after Chu Fengmian. Damn little bastard! Today, even if you escape to the ends of the earth, I will kill you. You dare to kill my son. You deserve to die 10,000 times. You deserve to die 10,000 times. Emperor Jianwang flew into a rage, flustered and exasperated. Behind him, streaks of lightning appeared. Emperor Jianwang's spiritual energy wasn't the ordinary five-element spirit, but an extremely special kind of lightning. As soon as the lightning appeared, the sky changed color. Streaks of lightning roared, and crazily bombarded Chu Fengmian. Although Chu Fengmian had some guesses about Emperor Jianwang's strength, he didn't expect that a peak saint who didn't fear a life or death crisis would have such terrifying strength. It wasn't that Emperor Jianwang didn't fear a life or death crisis, but Chu Fengmian had killed the first prince, his most beloved son. This had made Emperor Jianwang go crazy. He didn't care about anything else, and didn't care about the life or death crisis. Today, he would kill Chu Fengmian once and for all. The lightning was like a tidal wave, rushing towards Chu Fengmian. The power of each streak of lightning was more like an all-out attack from Ao Jianyuan, an expert at the 7th level of the divine power realm. Under such power, even a martial artist at the 7th level of the divine power realm would be easily torn apart. Abundant lush monument. Facing the tidal wave of lightning, Chu Fengmian was helpless. He could only summon the abundant lush monument. As soon as the abundant lush monument appeared, it smashed towards the lightning. In an instant, more than half of the lightning was destroyed, and only a small part of it swept towards Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed, and he broke through space and left. Abundant lush monument? You're the kid called Chu Fengmian from the victorious martial country? Emperor Jianwang recognized the abundant lush monument at a glance. Although the abundant lush monument had disappeared for 1,000 years, it wasn't like an old antique like Emperor Jianwang had never seen it before. His thoughts flickered, and he immediately knew who Chu Fengmian was. Chapter 359. After all, Grand Emperor Qin Shi Huang was from the same era as Grand Emperor Richlush. When Grand Emperor Richlush perished, Grand Emperor Qin Shi Huang was still a member of the junior generation. And yet, he had seen the Richlush steal before. That was why he recognized Chu Fengmian as the one who had acquired the legacy of Grand Emperor Richlush in the nation of victorious martial. Kid, I've been struggling to overcome my tribulation of life and death. Who would have thought that you'd come knocking on my door? With your good fortune in the Richlush steal, I'll definitely be able to overcome my tribulation and reach the life and death realm. Grand Emperor Qin Shi Huang chased after Chu Fengmian, laughing heartily. Don't try to fight back, kid. Fighting back will only get you killed faster. As the Qin Emperor shouted, he controlled countless thunderbolts. They were like cages that surrounded Chu Fengmian, trying to trap him within them. Phantom Shadow. With a thought, Chu Fengmian moved with shocking speed, then blurred into motion and shot into space. However, the countless thunderbolts around him were all brought into the space in an instant. Countless thunderbolts eroded Chu Fengmian's body and gradually merged with his body. The power of the lightning can't invade my body. Chu Fengmian's divine will trembled as he examined his body. Although the lightning was invading his body, it didn't harm him at all. However, it couldn't harm Chu Fengmian at all. After all, most of the lightning had already been destroyed by the power of the richly lush monument. What was left was less than 1/10 of its power, and yet, it couldn't harm Chu Fengmian at all. Instead, it was being devoured by Chu Fengmian, turning into pure spiritual power. Chu Fengmian was a bit confused, but then he suddenly understood. Back when Chu Fengmian had taken Grand Emperor Richlush's test, he had used lightning to refine his body. Not only did body refinement make Chu Fengmian's body tougher, but it also allowed Chu Fengmian's body to devour the lightning. However, even if he was able to devour it, he would only be able to devour a small portion of the lightning. If Qin Shi Huang were to unleash the full power of the lightning, Chu Fengmian would probably be killed in an instant. However, Chu Fengmian's eyes suddenly lit up. This lightning was actually formed by extremely pure spiritual energy. Since Chu Fengmian could devour it, he might as well borrow the power of this lightning to increase his strength. Kid, where do you think you're going? While Chu Fengmian was pondering, Qin Shi Huang had already caught up with him. His speed was frighteningly fast. One had to know that Chu Fengmian had the divine pulse, so he could continuously use spiritual power. Every time, he would use all his strength to escape. Yet, Emperor Qin Huang was able to catch up to him so easily. His strength was simply terrifying. Emperor Qin Huang's strength was probably only one step away from the true life and death realm. Unlike those peak saints who were hiding, Emperor Qin Huang already had the ability to pass the life and death tribulation. However, he did not do so. He was still accumulating power. If he were to kill Chu Fengmian today and obtain all of Chu Fengmian's fortuitous encounters, Qin Shi Huang might instantly step into the life and death realm and overcome the great calamity of life and death. Endless Lightning Dragon. Emperor Qin Huang waved his hand. The moment he caught up, endless lightning condensed into an incomparably huge lightning dragon. It roared madly and chased after Chu Fengmian. Under the might of this lightning dragon, the space around Chu Fengmian was sealed, forming a sky full of lightning. Emperor Qin Huang's first move was a true sure-kill move. Chu Fengmian's realm was too far away from Emperor Qin Huang's. Thus, Chu Fengmian had no chance of resisting. He was already trapped in the lightning, unable to escape. Damn it! The power of this lightning is really troublesome. Demon God Essence Blood. Burn! Sacrifice. Under the pressure of endless lightning, Chu Fengmian's face suddenly changed. He waved his hand and took out a huge vat. Countless scarlet blood began to burn as a sacrifice. At this moment, Chu Fengmian had no other choice but to burn the demon god essence blood in exchange for the explosive power within to break this lightning prison. The demon god essence blood was much more precious than the saint essence blood. Using it like this was absolutely a huge waste. However, in this world, there was no other choice. In a flash, Chu Fengmian's spiritual power was condensed to the limit. The power of the demon god essence blood was completely sacrificed and integrated into Chu Fengmian's sword. Slaughter. Chu Fengmian's power of the slaughter sword art was maximized to counterattack. He directly condensed a 10,000 Jianwang blood mark and slashed towards the lightning. However, the power of this lightning dragon was far greater than his. Even if Chu Fengmian burned the demon god essence blood and used all his power, he still could not completely kill the lightning dragon. However, he still managed to create a gap. You are burning the demon god essence blood to activate your sword art? However, even if you burn 1,000 or 10,000 vats of demon god essence blood, you are still not my opponent. Emperor Qin Huang snorted coldly. He also saw Chu Fengmian's action. He suddenly waved his hand and countless lightning bolts were shot out, sealing the gap just now. Not good. Run. Chu Fengmian's face suddenly changed. He hurriedly moved his body and turned into a flying light to escape from the gap. He had just used the power of the demon god essence blood to barely create a gap. If Emperor Qin Huang sealed it again, Chu Fengmian would have no chance to escape. Boom! Chu Fengmian quickly escaped. However, countless lightning bolts suddenly wrapped around Chu Fengmian's body. The moment Chu Fengmian escaped, the lightning bolts began to erode Chu Fengmian's body. Suddenly, Chu Fengmian's body became numb. The most terrifying thing about this lightning's spiritual power was that it could erode a person's body through any opening. Even if it was a saint, once he was eroded by the lightning bolts, he would only end up dead. Chu Fengmian escaped in a flash. However, he did not feel relaxed at all. Not to mention Emperor Qin Huang's pursuit, the lightning bolts were also very troublesome for Chu Fengmian. If he did not refine the lightning bolts, Chu Fengmian would be greatly injured at every moment. Sword Chi Transformation. Swallowing Sky Divine Python. Chu Fengmian instantly condensed his sword intent and turned it into a swallowing Sky Divine Python. He intended to devour the lightning bolts in his body. However, the lightning bolts were extremely tough. Even if Chu Fengmian summoned the swallowing Sky Divine Python, he still could not devour the lightning bolts. Chapter 360. These thunderbolts turned into thunderbolt seeds in Chu Fengmian's body. They were able to resist the devouring of the godly sky-devouring python. Chu Fengmian's realm was still too low. If Chu Fengmian's realm could go one step further and reach the 9th level of the Imperial Wind Realm, or even the peak of the Imperial Wind Realm, with the help of the heaven-devouring godly python, devouring these lightning seeds was not a problem at all. But now, these thunderbolt seeds had brought Chu Fengmian a lot of trouble. If they weren't cleaned up, these thunderbolt seeds would always be a ticking time bomb. It was enough to give Chu Fengmian a headache. As long as I can suppress the strength of these thunderbolt seeds, I will be able to devour them. The more dangerous the situation was, the calmer Chu Fengmian became. This was the biggest crisis Chu Fengmian had ever encountered. A pinnacle saint wanted to kill Chu Fengmian at all costs. Now, Chu Fengmian had to dispel the thunderbolt seed while fleeing. I wonder if the power of the ancient war dragon bloodline can suppress the thunderbolt. The dragon might of the ancient war dragon is enough to suppress the power of a spiritual weapon. Even a saint would not be able to resist it. Let's see if it can suppress the power of the thunderbolt seed. With a thought, Chu Fengmian condensed all 500 drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence. An ancient dragon's might burst out and engulfed Chu Fengmian's body. Under the sweep of the ancient dragon might, the thunderbolt seeds hidden in Chu Fengmian's body began to tremble. None of them resisted. Good. This primordial war dragon's dragon force is indeed powerful. It can even suppress the power of a peak saint. Chu Fengmian was overjoyed. The ancient war dragon bloodline had brought him great benefits. The primordial war dragons were known to be a race favored by the heavens, and that was not a lie. The power of their bloodline was indeed extremely powerful. However, Chu Fengmian also knew that this was the limit of the ancient war dragon's dragon might that he could suppress. If it was the power of a life and death realm expert, Chu Fengmian wouldn't be able to suppress it even if he went all out. Chu Fengmian didn't hesitate. With a thought, he condensed the godly sky-devouring python again. Then, it drilled into Chu Fengmian's body. Under the suppression of the ancient dragon might, the thunderbolt seeds were unable to resist. The divine sky-devouring python opened its mouth and swallowed the thunderbolt seeds one by one. The devoured thunderbolt seeds were refined in the body of the godly sky-devouring python. They were turned into extremely pure spiritual power and integrated into Chu Fengmian's body. Within a few breaths, all of the thunderbolt seeds in Chu Fengmian's body were completely devoured, turning into a steady stream of pure spiritual energy that was absorbed by Chu Fengmian's body. These thunderbolt seeds were not ordinary spiritual energy, but the most powerful origin energy of Emperor Jianwang. His spiritual energy was extremely pure. Now that Chu Fengmian had devoured and refined all of the spiritual energy was turned into a steady stream of nourishment, increasing Chu Fengmian's strength. Chu Fengmian felt that the ancient war dragon's shadow in his body was awakened again. His strength had reached its limit and he could gather the ancient war dragon's blood essence again. Immediately, the ancient war dragon phantasm appeared behind Chu Fengmian. Drops of ancient war dragon essence blood began to condense. Good. Good. The great crisis of Emperor Jianwang chasing after me has given me an opportunity. If I can get out of this crisis today, my strength will increase by another level. Chu Fengmian thought excitedly. The thunderbolt that Emperor Jianwang threw at him had turned into Chu Fengmian's strength. In an instant, another 100 drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence had been condensed in Chu Fengmian's body, and it was still condensing. Today, as long as he could escape the pursuit of Qin Shi Huang, he would be able to force Chu Fengmian to his limits in this life and death calamity. In the future, it would be easy for him to increase his cultivation level. Stepping into the divine power realm was just around the corner. However, almost at this moment, the space behind Chu Fengmian fluctuated. Then, countless thunderous sounds came continuously. The thunderbolt had actually shattered the surrounding space, turning it into countless spatial storms. Emperor Jianwang had actually chased after Chu Fengmian in the space where the thunderbolt had exploded. The killing intent on Emperor Jianwang's face became more and more intense. Chu Fengmian's speed of escape was completely out of his expectations. However, there was no way he would let Chu Fengmian go. He broke the space, turning the surrounding space into a spatial storm. He wanted to completely seal Chu Fengmian and trap him within. Emperor Jianwang was obviously determined to kill Chu Fengmian. Today, he wanted to kill Chu Fengmian not only for the death of the first prince, but also for the key to his breakthrough into the life and death realm. As long as he killed Chu Fengmian, he would be able to obtain the key to the life and death realm, passing through the life and death calamity in one go. He would be able to step into the life and death realm faster than Zhao Wudi. At that time, not to mention the emperor of Jianwang country, even the surrounding 6 countries would fall under his rule. Becoming an eternal great emperor was just around the corner. Today, even if Emperor Jianwang had to chase him to the ends of the earth, he would kill Chu Fengmian. Damn it! He's still chasing after me. The surrounding space had turned into a spatial storm, leaving Chu Fengmian with no way to escape. This spatial storm was incomparably ferocious. Once someone entered it, even a saint would have a 90% chance of survival. Even life and death realm experts could be torn apart by the endless spatial storm. Emperor Jianwang had shattered the surrounding space, turning it into a spatial storm. He wanted Chu Fengmian to have no way to escape. Emperor Jianwang sized Chu Fengmian up and said coldly, "Kid, let's see where you can run to now." The moment he sensed the change in Chu Fengmian's power, his eyes flickered with shock. "You actually refined the thunderbolt seed I put in your body? Very good." Even life and death realm experts would find it difficult to refine a thunderbolt seed, but you actually did it in such a short time. It seems like this has something to do with your bloodline. Emperor Jianwang looked at Chu Fengmian and clicked his tongue in wonder. Your bloodline is not that of a true dragon, but of an even higher level, the bloodline of the dragon race. This bloodline is so flame-resistant that it can even suppress my thunderbolt seed. Very good. It seems like you've had more fortuitous encounters than I imagined. Apart from Grand Emperor Richlush, you must have encountered something even more powerful. Emperor Jianwang was a peak saint who had ruled Jianwang country for 1,000 years. With a single glance, he could tell that Chu Fengmian's fortuitous encounters were not as simple as Grand Emperor Richlush's legacy. Chapter 361. Chu Fengmian's bloodline could even surpass that of a true dragon. It was enough to suppress the power of the Thunder Seed. It was an extremely noble bloodline. There were only a few bloodlines in the entire 9 regions that could achieve this. Qin Shi Huang originally wanted to kill Chu Fengmian directly. However, after seeing the power of Chu Fengmian's bloodline, he changed his mind. If he killed Chu Fengmian, he could indeed obtain Chu Fengmian's fortuitous encounters. However, he couldn't obtain Chu Fengmian's bloodline. Very good, very good. This emperor's aptitude had already reached a bottleneck. Even if I entered the life and death realm, I wouldn't be able to advance any further. However, if this emperor were to seize your body today, with the power of your bloodline, this emperor would be able to step into a higher realm. Qin Shi Huang looked at Chu Fengmian with greed in his eyes. All of Chu Fengmian's fortuitous encounters weren't as valuable as Chu Fengmian's bloodline. Fortuitous encounters could increase a person's strength, but it couldn't determine the upper limit. If Qin Shi Huang were to obtain Chu Fengmian's bloodline, Qin Shi Huang would be able to instantly change his aptitude. It could change the aptitude of the Qin Emperor all of a sudden. A drop of the ancient war dragon's blood essence could change the physique of a warrior. Right now, Chu Fengmian had no less than 600 drops of ancient battle dragon essence blood. If Qin Shi Huang could obtain it, it would be even more beneficial than killing Chu Fengmian. Heavenly Thunder. Condense a cage. Seal. Hand of Thunder. Seize. Qin Shi Huang looked at Chu Fengmian. Suddenly, his mind flickered. A huge hand of thunder turned into a surge of spiritual power and drilled into Chu Fengmian's body. When this hand of thunder grabbed, Chu Fengmian immediately felt that the ancient battle dragon essence blood in his body was being shaken. Qin Shi Huang wanted to seize it from his bloodline. Damn it! This Qin Shi Huang wants to seize my bloodline. Seize my ancient battle dragon essence blood. Chu Fengmian's expression changed greatly. This Qin Shi Huang wanted to seize his bloodline. Chu Fengmian's strength came entirely from the 600 drops of primordial battle dragon's blood essence in his bloodline. If the primordial battle dragon's blood essence was taken away today, Chu Fengmian's strength might only be left with 1% or 1,000th of his strength. There would be no difference between him and a real martial artist at the 8th level of the Imperial Wind Realm. He relied on the ancient battle dragon's blood essence to be able to fight across countless realms. If Chu Fengmian were to be taken away today, everything would be over for him. It would be much more painful than letting Chu Fengmian die. In order to achieve a breakthrough, he had pushed the battle dragon's skill to the extreme. The ancient battle dragon's blood essence had been completely awakened. But at that moment, Emperor Qin Huang actually made his move, intending to strip Chu Fengmian of his bloodline. In an instant, Chu Fengmian was in extreme danger. Don't even think about it. Chu Fengmian's will was firm. He activated all of the primordial battle dragon's blood essence and unleashed waves of dragon might to intimidate the hand of thunder in his body. At the same time, he urged the godly sky-devouring python to devour the power of the hand of lightning. However, the power of the hand of lightning was 100 times, or even 1,000 times more powerful than the thunder seed. The godly sky-devouring python could not shake it at all. It could only devour it slowly. Brat, your resistance is meaningless. I will completely strip you of your bloodline, and all your fortuitous encounters will be turned into my power. Emperor Qin Huang looked at Chu Fengmian and laughed. Who knew how many fortuitous encounters Chu Fengmian had obtained to be able to contend against him with the wind-controlling realm? What Emperor Qin Huang wanted to do today was to strip all of Chu Fengmian's fortuitous encounters. Once he obtained Chu Fengmian's fortuitous encounters, he would become a truly invincible figure. Passing through the life and death tribulation and stepping into the life and death realm would be a piece of cake. Thinking of this, Emperor Qin Huang's heart became even more excited. Hand of lightning. Condense. Strip. The spiritual energy of Emperor Qin Huang gathered once again, and 3 hands of thunder were formed in succession, drilling into Chu Fengmian's body. He wanted to drill into Chu Fengmian's body and take away his blood essence of the ancient war dragon. Chu Fengmian already found it difficult to deal with 1 hand of lightning. If there were 3 more, it would be impossible for Chu Fengmian to resist. Once the blood essence of the ancient war dragon was stripped, Chu Fengmian would be finished. Even if I have to fight with my life on the line. I can't let Emperor Qin Huang have his way. The hand of lightning is in my body, trying to strip the blood essence of the ancient war dragon. However, I can also refine the hand of lightning. As long as I have more time, I can refine the hand of lightning. By then, I will condense the blood essence of the ancient war dragon and reach level 9 of the wind-controlling realm. By then, I won't be afraid of the hand of lightning. In a split second, Chu Fengmian had already calculated everything in his mind. He could not just sit there and wait for death. Otherwise, he would be killed by Emperor Qin Huang sooner or later. He had to escape. The way of the human sovereign. Enlighten all living beings. Chu Fengmian clenched his teeth. Suddenly, the spiritual energy in his body was sucked out. His entire body became weak. Almost at the same time, in front of Chu Fengmian, an ancient broken jar suddenly appeared. The power within it was filled to the extreme as it rushed toward Qin Shi Huang and bombarded him. This is an extreme pathomoral weapon. The face of the Qin Emperor, who was holding on to the broken jar, turned pale instantly. The power that exploded from the broken jar caused him to be extremely flustered. An extreme pathomoral weapon was a legendary item. Once its power exploded, even he, a peak saint, would panic. Although Emperor Qin Huang knew that the Emperor Jar was in Chu Fengmian's hands, he did not expect Chu Fengmian to be able to activate the power of the Emperor Jar. It was an extreme path immoral weapon. Even he did not have the confidence to activate it. Chu Fengmian activated the Emperor Jar, which gave him a shock. Lightning Shield. Emperor Jianwang panicked. He retrieved the endless lightning and turned it into a lightning shield in front of him. He was ready to resist the power of the Emperor Jar. Boom! The power of the human Emperor's Jar exploded violently, shattering the countless lightning shields in front of Emperor Jianwang. The surrounding lightning cages were also destroyed in an instant. The last power of the Emperor Jar clashed with Emperor Jianwang. Cracks appeared on Emperor Jianwang's body. This was because the power of the Emperor Jar was too fierce. Emperor Jianwang's body could not withstand it. That was why his body was shattered. However, this Qin Shi Huang was simply way too horrifying. To think that the power of the human Emperor's Jar explosion could not do anything to Emperor Qin Shi Huang. His body was the only thing that was affected. His entire strength was not affected by it at all. Chapter 362. Good, very good. It's been many years since someone hurt me. Qin Shi Huang looked at Chu Fengmian and snorted. The explosion of the human Emperor Jar had nearly destroyed his body. However, it did not affect the Emperor Qin Shi Huang at all. As long as he survived the life and death tribulation, the injuries on his body would be regenerated. This injury did not affect him much. Extreme immoral weapon. Unfortunately, the one in your hand is only a fragment of a broken extreme immoral weapon. If it was a complete extreme immoral weapon, perhaps the attack just now would have been enough to kill me. Qin Shi Huang looked at Chu Fengmian, his eyes filled with killing intent. He almost died in Chu Fengmian's hands just now. Fortunately, the Emperor Jar in Chu Fengmian's hand was not a complete one. With all his strength, it only shattered his body. If it was the complete jar of the human emperor, the Qin emperor would have been killed instantly by this power. Not even a piece of him would be left. I was wondering why you had the ability to activate an extreme immoral weapon. It's just a fragment. You want to deal with me with just a fragment? Qin Shi Huang sneered. He moved his hands and 3 more hands of thunder were formed. They grabbed at Chu Fengmian. Give up. You have nowhere to run today. Now, Qin Huang had countless opportunities to kill Chu Fengmian. However, he did not intend to kill Chu Fengmian right away. If he killed Chu Fengmian, the primordial war dragon's blood essence in Chu Fengmian's body would disappear along with Chu Fengmian. He must first extract all the ancient war dragon blood essence in Chu Fengmian's body. The hands of thunder suddenly grabbed at Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian's heart jolted. He had not expected the strength of this great Emperor Qin Shi Huang to be so powerful. When he activated the Emperor Jar with all his strength, he could only injure Qin Shi Huang's body. He could not hurt him at all. For a saint, the saint blood essence in his body was the real source of power. The injuries on his body would not affect his strength. Phantom. Facing the countless hands of thunder, Chu Fengmian moved his feet and activated the phantom body movement to the extreme. He escaped in an instant. Humph, kid, let's see where you can run today. Qin Shi Huang looked at Chu Fengmian's escaping light and snorted. So what if there was no lightning cage around? The space nearby had been shattered by him and turned into a space storm. Chu Fengmian. There was no way Chu Fengmian could escape. Even if Chu Fengmian had wings. It's better to go in and fight for a chance of survival. Chu Fengmian thought to himself as he fled. Rather than waiting for death here, it would be better to enter the spatial storm. That way, there would be a chance of survival. Earlier, when he used the power of the Emperor Jar, he did not want to kill Emperor Qin Huang with a surprise attack. Instead, he wanted to break open the lightning cage around him. His escape light didn't stop as he charged into the shattered space. The space had been shattered. Behind him was a tearing space storm. Chu Fengmian stepped into it and was immediately sucked into the shattered space. Behind Chu Fengmian, a voice suddenly sounded. You want to enter the space storm? Seeing Chu Fengmian's action, Qin Shi Huang sneered and said. You think you can escape from my palm like this? You are so naive. Lightning arc. Suddenly, Emperor Qin Shi Huang waved his hand. Countless thunderbolts appeared before him and condensed into an incomparably huge arc. This arc was made entirely out of thunderbolts. In an instant, he entered the lightning arc and saw immediately, he charged into the shattered space and flew out. Chu Fengmian entered the shattered space. He immediately felt the countless space storms that wanted to tear Chu Fengmian's body apart. The power of each of the space storms was not inferior to the full blow of a saint at the 7th level of the divine power realm. The space storms were endless. They blasted towards Chu Fengmian from all directions. It was as if they wanted to tear Chu Fengmian's body apart. Chu Fengmian pushed the power of the battle dragon will to the extreme. Only then could he resist the tearing of the terrifying space storms. The space storms in the shattered space are really terrifying. Warriors below the 7th level of the divine power realm would be torn apart and killed instantly. Chu Fengmian entered the shattered space. Only then did he understand how terrifying the legendary space storms were. Each of the space storms was not inferior to the full blow of a saint at the 7th level of the divine power realm. Especially the number of space storms, they were endless. They would wash over the warriors at every moment. Unless it was a saint at the pinnacle, even a saint at the 8th or 9th level of the divine power realm would not be able to last long. Chu Fengmian entered the shattered space. In about 10 breaths of time, his spiritual power was exhausted. Fortunately, he had the power of the holy pulse, which was constantly absorbing the earth pulse to restore his spiritual power. That was why Chu Fengmian could survive in the shattered space. Chu Fengmian's heart did not have time to relax. Suddenly, endless thunder resounded behind him. Chu Fengmian turned his head to look. Amidst the endless thunder, an incomparably huge thunder arc was sailing, chasing after Chu Fengmian. This Qin Shi Huang did not intend to let Chu Fengmian go. He wanted to kill Chu Fengmian at all costs. He actually chased into the shattered space. Countless space storms hit the thunder arc, making hissing sounds. However, the thunder arc's speed was faster than Chu Fengmian's. This Qin Shi Huang was a saint at the pinnacle. Although he did not want to enter the space storms in the shattered space, the space storms could not do anything to him in a short period of time. Even the space storms could not stop the Qin Shi Huang. This hand of lightning is about to be refined. Once it is completely refined, my strength will be further improved. Chu Fengmian sensed that the devouring sky divine python in his body was finally about to completely refine the hand of lightning. This hand of lightning could strip the ancient battle dragon's blood essence from Chu Fengmian's body. It was not condensed from spiritual power, but it contained the saint's blood essence of Qin Shi Huang. Once it was refined, it would be extremely beneficial to Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian's realm would be further improved, and he might have a chance to escape. Chapter 363. Within the spatial storm, two figures were chasing after each other. Chu Fengmian's figure was about to be caught up by Qin Shi Huang's thunderbolt Arkansas, still trying to escape. Kid, you forced me into the spatial storm and put me in such a dangerous situation. Today, I will capture you and make you suffer unparalleled pain. Great Emperor Qin Huang roared out in rage. He was truly enraged right now. In order to deal with a junior like Chu Fengmian, he had chased after him for such a long time, and Chu Fengmian had escaped from him several times. Now, he was even forced into the spatial storm by Chu Fengmian. This made him furious. He waved his hand and endless lightning burst out from the thunderbolt Arkansas sea of lightning. The endless lightning spread and turned into a sea of lightning. In this broken space, the sea of lightning could not be shaken by the spatial storm. Following Qin Shi Huang's finger, the sea of lightning roared and spread towards Chu Fengmian. The speed of the sea of lightning was extremely fast. Chu Fengmian's body was immediately surrounded by the sea of lightning, trapping Chu Fengmian in it. This endless stream of thunderbolts continued to devour Chu Fengmian's body, causing cracks to appear on his body. It was as if his body was about to be smashed to pieces. In the Sea of Lightning, Chu Fengmian could not move at all. He could only desperately resist the corrosion of the lightning. The difference between Chu Fengmian and Qin Shi strength was too big. As long as Qin Shi found an opportunity, he could completely trap Chu Fengmian. "Kid, this time you can't escape. Hand of Lightning, take." Qin Shi looked at Chu Fengmian, who was trapped in the Sea of Lightning, and snorted. 3 hands of lightning grabbed towards Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian could feel that the power of the ancient war dragon's blood essence in his body had been pushed to the limit. The 3 hands of lightning were trying to take away all of the ancient war dragon's blood essence from Chu Fengmian's body. His bloodline was boiling as he tried his best to resist the hand of lightning's deprivation. Devour. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's sword intent was pushed to the limit. The devouring sky divine python had finally refined the hands of lightning in his body. Endless spiritual power suddenly filled Chu Fengmian's body. The spiritual power of the hands of lightning was much purer than countless mysterious items. Battle Dragon Skill. Condense. Chu Fengmian did not hesitate and instantly activated the power of the Battle Dragon Skill. The endless spiritual power was poured into the ancient war dragon shadow of the Battle Dragon Skill. Suddenly, countless drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence. 100 drops of the ancient war dragon's blood was condensed. In Chu Fengmian's body, the number of primordial battle dragon's blood essence reached 700 drops. The 700 drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence seemed to have broken through a bottleneck. Chu Fengmian's strength began to rise rapidly. In the blink of an eye, Chu Fengmian's power increased by several times, and a burst of spiritual power burst out from his body. Chu Fengmian's realm finally had a breakthrough and stepped into level 9 Imperial Wind Realm. Just as Chu Fengmian refined and devoured the hands of lightning in his body, his realm finally had a breakthrough. Level 9 Imperial Wind Realm. Chu Fengmian's level 9 Imperial Wind Realm was enough to compete with a saint at level 9 Divine Power Realm. Moreover, not only did Chu Fengmian's realm increase, but the amount of ancient war dragon's blood essence in his body had also increased. His blood had also become thicker. This time, even the hands of lightning condensed by Emperor Qin Huang could not easily take away Chu Fengmian's blood essence. Although Chu Fengmian's strength was much weaker than Emperor Qin, he had broken through to the 9th level of the Imperial Wind Realm, which was comparable to the 9th level of the Divine Power Realm. With such strength, he would no longer be unable to resist Emperor Qin. Fertile Sword Principle. Slaughtering Sword Principle. Break. Chu Fengmian took out the Scarlet Flame Sword and condensed the power of 2 sword principles at the same time. He slashed out with the sword. This gigantic sea of lightning instantly churned as a surge of sword chi slashed out fiercely. In this boundless sea of lightning, a crack was actually forcefully broken open, allowing Chu Fengmian to escape from it. "You've refined my lightning hand at a time like this? Borrowing my strength to improve your strength?" Emperor Qin Huang looked at Chu Fengmian's sudden burst of power and suddenly understood how Chu Fengmian did it. He did not know what method Chu Fengmian used to refine and devour the hands of lightning condensed by his life essence. With the help of the hands of lightning, he broke through the sea of lightning. However, Emperor Qin Huang's expression did not show any signs of panic. Instead, he was extremely calm, as if victory was in his hands. All the fortuitous encounters Chu Fengmian had now when his strength was improving, it had nothing to do with him. As long as Emperor Qin Huang could take away Chu Fengmian's ancient war dragon's blood essence, the stronger Chu Fengmian's strength was, the more benefits he would get. He would get all of Chu Fengmian's achievements today. "Your breakthrough will only bring me more benefits. Hands of Lightning. Take away." The 3 hands of lightning suddenly burst out with power in Chu Fengmian's body. At the moment when Chu Fengmian escaped, the power was completely unleashed. Bolts of lightning burst out from Chu Fengmian's body, as if they were going to tear Chu Fengmian's body apart. At the same time, the purpose of the hands of lightning was not to injure Chu Fengmian, but to take away all of the ancient war dragon's blood essence and Chu Fengmian's power source. War Dragon's Dragon Might. Suppress it. The 100 drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence that Chu Fengmian had just condensed in his body also burst out with power. 700 drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence turned into the shape of a dragon claw. The dragon claw was inside Chu Fengmian's body. It immediately suppressed the power of the 3 hands of lightning deep inside Chu Fengmian's body. Although it could not be completely refined, it was enough to suppress the power of the hands of lightning deep inside Chu Fengmian's body, preventing it from harming Chu Fengmian. Now that I have made another breakthrough, my strength is comparable to a saint at the 9th level of the divine power realm. The gap between me and Emperor Qin Huang is not that big. Although I can't completely destroy the hands of lightning, it is enough to suppress it. Seeing this scene, Chu Fengmian thought to himself. His body moved and flew deeper into the broken space. Chapter 364. Although Chu Fengmian's realm had a breakthrough, his strength was still far from being comparable to Qin Shi Huang's. The difference in strength between Chu Fengmian and Qin Shi Huang was like the difference between a 9th level divine power realm saint and a peak saint. Although it was only a step away, it was impossible to surpass it. Chu Fengmian could fight against Qin Shi Huang for a while, but he could not last long. Chu Fengmian was indeed able to suppress these 3 hands of thunder. However, Qin Huang could still unleash 5 or 10 hands of thunder. Chu Fengmian's bloodline power could not be suppressed any longer. At that time, all the power of the hands of lightning would explode. Chu Fengmian still could not resist it, and his bloodline would be taken away. Unless Chu Fengmian's strength improved, he would not be able to fight against Qin Shi Huang. Now, Chu Fengmian rushed into the depths of the broken space. The deeper the broken space, the stronger the spatial storm. Chu Fengmian's plan was to use the spatial storm to delay Qin Shi Huang, giving Chu Fengmian a chance to survive. As long as Chu Fengmian was able to refine the 3 lightning hands, his strength would be able to improve further. The strength of this brat is truly bizarre. He is only at the 9th level of the wind control realm, yet his strength is already comparable to the 9th level of the divine force realm. He has crossed an entire major realm. If he were to improve further, wouldn't his strength be the same as this emperor? Qin Shi Huang looked at Chu Fengmian's spiritual power and his current strength, and his eyebrows showed a bit of seriousness. Chu Fengmian's strength was enough to fight against him. He was no longer the kid that he could easily crush. If Chu Fengmian's strength improved, it would be extremely troublesome for him. Lightning blessing. Qin Shi Huang waved his hand, and the thunder arc shattered. Countless lightning bolts blessed Qin Shi Huang. He chased after Chu Fengmian and rushed into the depths of the broken space. The thunder arc could no longer withstand the stronger spatial storm. Qin Shi Huang abandoned the thunder arc and chased after Chu Fengmian. As long as I can get rid of Qin Shi Huang, when I refine the 3 hands of lightning in my body, my strength will improve, and I will not be afraid of Qin Shi Huang. In the depths of the shattered space, Chu Fengmian hurriedly fled. As long as his strength took another step forward, Chu Fengmian was confident that he could truly contend against Qin Huang. At that time, it would be hard to say who would win and who would lose. Now, even though Chu Fengmian had arrived at the depths of the broken space, he could not relax at all. That was because Chu Fengmian could sense that great Emperor Qin Huang was still chasing after him. This invincible peak saint was determined to kill Chu Fengmian today. No matter how Chu Fengmian escaped, he kept chasing after him. Even the extremely dangerous depths of the broken space could not stop Qin Shi Huang. Not good, this great Emperor Qin Shi Huang's strength is even more terrifying than I imagined. As Chu Fengmian fled, he kept an eye on Emperor Qin behind him. Suddenly, his expression changed. That was because Qin Huang, who was right behind him, suddenly sped up and rushed behind Chu Fengmian, catching up with him in an instant. Brat, even if you escape to the depths of the broken space, you will still die today. 1,000 miles of thunder prison. Endless. Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang roared furiously. Countless thunderbolts burst out at the same time, filling the entire broken space. The endless thunderbolts turned into hundreds of cages, trapping Chu Fengmian in an instant. Brat, there is no need to escape. Today, I will suppress you first. After I bring you back, I will extract all of your bloodline power. Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang looked at Chu Fengmian and shouted. Withdraw. The lightning cages shrunk rapidly, trying to suppress Chu Fengmian. The depths of the broken space were filled with danger. Even Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang did not dare to stay for long. Now, he had to suppress Chu Fengmian and take him away from this extremely dangerous place. Oh no! Chu Fengmian's body trembled. Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang was using a supreme technique to suppress him. Once he was suppressed, Chu Fengmian would have no chance to resist in the hands of Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang. Abundant Lush Steel. Chu Fengmian called out the abundant lush steel and attacked the lightning cages around him. But this time, Qin Shi Huang was clearly prepared. He summoned even more lightning to reinforce the lightning cage, so that when the power of the rich lush tombstone slammed into it, it didn't even leave a scratch on it. Give up resisting. Let's call it a day. Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang revealed a confident smile. Withdraw. Dragon form. Jianwang 8 notes. Chu Fengmian's body turned into an incomparably huge ancient battle dragon. His entire body resisted the lightning cages. At the same time, a terrifying sound wave burst out from his mouth. You want to hurt me with this sound wave? Naive. Facing the terrifying sound wave, Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang's face was calm. He waved his hand, and the sound wave shattered in front of him. Is that so? Chu Fengmian revealed a proud smile. Almost at the same time, the surrounding space began to tremble violently. Then, an extremely powerful spiritual energy burst out from the depths of the broken space. Space tide? Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang felt the violent tremors, and his face fell. Space tide could be said to be the most terrifying power in the broken space. It was 100 times stronger than the space storm. Once it swept across, less than 1 in 10,000 people could survive. His Tianlong 8 notes was not to deal with Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang, but to draw out the space tide in the Perth space. Chu Fengmian came to the depths of the broken space, and wanted to borrow the power of the space tide to deal with Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang. Thousands of thunderbolts, build divine palace. Facing the space tide, Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang retracted the countless thunderbolts. The thunderbolts in front of him turned into an incomparably huge palace. Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang hid in the lightning palace. Even he did not dare to resist the terrifying power of the space tide. As for Chu Fengmian, he did not pay any attention to Emperor Qin Shi Huang. Instead, he dashed into the space tide. Kid, you want to die together with me? You're too naive. Today, only you will die. Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang looked at Chu Fengmian and snorted coldly. Chapter 365. Who said I'm going to die? Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. His figure moved and rushed into the spatial tide. The moment he rushed in, the power of the battle dragon technique was pushed to the limit. Layers of dragon scales wrapped around Chu Fengmian, causing him to enter the spatial tide. Countless storms hit the dragon scales, causing rustling sounds. The power of the spatial tide is really terrifying. However, I can also use its power to refine the 3 lightning hands. Chu Fengmian rushed into the spatial tide. The endless storms around him were about to tear his body apart. Even the dragon scales that were condensed could not withstand the terrifying storm and were shattered one by one. It made Chu Fengmian's entire body look like a bloody mess. Battle Dragon Technique. The power of the Divine Pulse. Condense. My aptitude is endless. The more oppressive it is, the more it can stimulate my strength. Chu Fengmian shouted angrily. He had withstood Chu Hung Saint's self-explosion last time and his strength had increased greatly. This time, Chu Fengmian planned to use the spatial tide to stimulate his strength. Using the spatial tide to cultivate was simply a shocking thing. The power of the spatial tide was enough to completely destroy Chu Fengmian in 3 breaths. However, Chu Fengmian's battle dragon technique and the power of the divine pulse burst out at the same time. He was almost immortal. As long as he was not killed in an instant, he would be able to recover. His flesh and blood were torn apart over and over again, and then reformed over and over again. The power of the spatial tide. Devour it. It was not over yet. Chu Fengmian opened his mouth and swallowed the power of the spatial tide. The power of the spatial tide was swallowed into Chu Fengmian's body and was injected into the depths of his body to fight against the 3 lightning hands. Chu Fengmian wanted to use the power of the spatial tide to refine the 3 lightning hands and increase his strength. The power of the spatial tide and the 3 lightning hands clashed in Chu Fengmian's body. They were actually on par. However, the spiritual energy that they consumed was all swallowed by Chu Fengmian and absorbed into his body. Behind Chu Fengmian, drops of battle dragon essence blood condensed on the ancient battle dragon shadow. Bang! 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 3 voices echoed in Chu Fengmian's body. The power of the 3 hands of lightning was completely refined. The spatial tide power that Chu Fengmian had devoured was also completely consumed. Inside Chu Fengmian's body, the sky-devouring divine python devoured the 2 forces in no time. Countless ancient war dragon blood essences were condensed. 100 drops. 200 drops. 300 drops. Another 300 drops of the ancient war dragon's blood essence were condensed all of a sudden. Chu Fengmian's cultivation realm also suddenly exploded in an instant. An incomparably mysterious power rippled from Chu Fengmian's body. 1,000 drops. Chu Fengmian had condensed a total of 1,000 drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence. The 1,000 drops of primordial war dragon's blood essence filled one of the dragon claws of the primordial war dragon's silhouette. The peak of the wind-controlling realm. Chu Fengmian made another breakthrough and stepped into the peak of the wind-controlling realm. At the same time, Chu Fengmian began to feel that the surrounding space had become much more familiar. This was Chu Fengmian's comprehension of the way of space. At the peak of the wind-controlling realm, one could really comprehend the way of space. Although Chu Fengmian could break through the space to travel, he still relied on his brute force. Chu Fengmian could not condense the power of space at a higher level, such as the domain. Now that he had stepped into the peak of the wind-controlling realm, Chu Fengmian had some comprehension of space. If he reached the sage to be, he could condense the embryonic form of the domain. When he reached the sage to be, he could condense the real domain. Now that Chu Fengmian's strength had finally made a breakthrough, he could also tear apart and escape from the great emperor's thunderbolt pull. However, this time, Chu Fengmian did not need to escape. Chu Fengmian, who was at the peak of the wind-controlling realm, already had the strength of the peak of the divine power realm. Compared with the great emperor, his strength was not inferior at all. As long as there was no gap between their realms, the great emperor was not an opponent that Chu Fengmian could not defeat. The spatial tide passed in the blink of an eye. The great emperor came out of the Thunderbolt Palace and immediately activated his spiritual consciousness to search for Chu Fengmian. However, Chu Fengmian's aura had disappeared, which stunned him for a moment. He could not believe it. Even if Chu Fengmian died in the spatial tide and turned into dust, the spiritual weapon on his body would still exist. The abundant lush tablet and the emperor jar fragment were 2 spiritual treasures that could not be destroyed easily by the spatial tide. Just as the great emperor Qin was searching for Chu Fengmian, a sword light suddenly appeared behind him. The owner of the sword light was Chu Fengmian. He hid his aura and silently appeared behind the great emperor Qin. Then, he suddenly attacked. What? The sudden appearance of the sword light was completely out of the great emperor Qin's expectation. However, he was still a great emperor, so he reacted in an instant. A thunderbolt struck out, ready to block the sword light. However, the moment his thunderbolt met Chu Fengmian's sword light, it was shattered. How is this possible? How can your strength be so strong to such an extent? Your cultivation level has increased by another level. Seeing Chu Fengmian's strength, the great Emperor Qin could not believe it. In the spatial tide, not only did Chu Fengmian escape, but his cultivation level also increased. The fact that the sword light could resist his thunderbolt was the best proof of Chu Fengmian's strength. Now, Chu Fengmian's strength was not inferior to his. This time, it was not a question of whether he would let Chu Fengmian go or not. Chu Fengmian had no intention of letting the great Emperor Qin Huang go. Great Emperor Qin Huang, you have chased me for so long. Now, it's time for me to fight back. Sword art of slaughter. Slaughter of the heavens and earth. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. Being chased, he was full of anger. Now that he had finally broken through, he was going to kill the great Emperor Qin Huang. He was going to kill the great emperor who had dominated for thousands of years. His sword art was fatal. His blood energy condensed into a 3-meter-long bloody scar and slashed at the great Emperor Qin Huang. Roar of thunder. The great Emperor Qin Huang roared and struck out. A thunderbolt gathered in front of him and collided with the 3-meter-long bloody scar. With a bang, it shattered and exploded. The great Emperor Qin Huang did not hold back in this attack. He used all of his strength. However, the 3-meter-long bloody scar dissolved the countless explosions and slashed at the great Emperor Qin Huang. Chapter 366. In this clash of strength, Chu Fengmian's strength was actually a notch higher. As long as they had the same level of strength, Chu Fengmian didn't believe that he would lose to anyone. Peng! This sword slashed at Qin Shi Huang's chest. A huge wound appeared on Qin Shi Huang's chest, piercing through his heart. However, Qin Shi Huang's aura didn't weaken at all. Instead, it seemed as if he was enraged, and his strength skyrocketed. To a peak saint, even having his heart pierced through wasn't a serious injury. Countless bolts of lightning condensed on Emperor Qin Huang's body and surrounded him in layers. These bolts of lightning healed the wound on his chest and heart in an instant. For a pinnacle saint, unless the opponent was completely annihilated, no matter how serious the injuries were, they would be able to recover in an instant. Qin Shi Huang was a well-known figure among the peak saints. He was already infinitely close to the life and death realm. This injury didn't have much effect on him. It only enraged Qin Shi Huang's heart. Who was Qin Shi Huang? He was the emperor of the Qin Empire for 1,000 years. He was almost invincible among the 6 nations, the strongest under the life and death realm. Such an ancient figure who had lived for 1,000 years, a peerless expert, actually lost to Chu Fengmian in a clash of strength. How could Qin Shi Huang tolerate this? Kid, do you really think that you can contend against me after breaking through? You're just a junior. Even if I give you 10,000 opportunities, you won't be able to contend against me. Today, I'll bury a genius like you in this broken space. Qin Shi Huang's cold voice was filled with anger, and it had already reached its limit. This emperor who had lived for 1,000 years was thoroughly enraged. Endless flames burned on his body. These flames were the fury of Qin Shi Huang. His fury was enough to transform into the most ferocious flames. Rumble! Lightning and fire fused together, turning into an incomparably huge tiger. It pounced at Chu Fengmian. The tiger's power alone was enough to contend against some ordinary peak saints. Qin Huang was furious to the extreme, and he unleashed his most terrifying power at all costs. The moment the ferocious tiger appeared, the entire shattered space was filled with countless flames and lightning. In the blink of an eye, the ferocious tiger of lightning and fire had already rushed towards Chu Fengmian and slapped him with its palm. Sky-breaking dragon claw. Chu Fengmian's face remained extremely calm when he saw the thunder fire tiger's palm strike coming towards him. The 1,000 drops of ancient war dragon blood essence in his body were all activated. The power of the 1,000 drops of ancient war dragon blood essence burst out and turned into a massive dragon claw in Chu Fengmian's hand. This time, the transformed dragon claw was no longer a manifestation of Chu Fengmian's power. Instead, it was a true dragon claw of the ancient war dragon. 1,000 drops of primordial war dragon's blood essence was already a qualitative change. It caused the primordial war dragon's shadow in Chu Fengmian's body to metamorphose. It was enough for him to directly condense a real war dragon's claw. This dragon claw was at least 100 meters wide. With a single slap, it seemed as if a hole would be punched through the sky. The thunder fire tiger that was still flaunting its might immediately shivered in front of this dragon claw. As soon as the dragon claw landed, the thunder fire tiger was directly smashed into pieces. The newly formed thunder fire spirit energy dispersed in all directions. Emperor Jianwang's face turned pale. He really couldn't understand how Chu Fengmian's strength could change so quickly. The breakthrough this time seemed to have brought about a qualitative change in Chu Fengmian. 1,000 drops of ancient war dragon's blood essence was already a critical point. The current Chu Fengmian could already use the true power of the ancient war dragon. He could no longer just condense a shadow. His dragon claw was enough to sweep away all opponents under the life and death realm. It was almost invincible. This brat must be bluffing. So what if his claw is powerful? It's impossible for him to kill this emperor with one claw. Such a powerful claw, every time he activates it, it will consume a lot of his spirit energy. This emperor doesn't believe that he can still use it. Emperor Qin Shi Huang roared. Today, no matter what, you will die. Any resistance is meaningless. Countless lightning bolts in the shattered space were awakened under Emperor Qin Huang's consciousness. They rushed toward Chu Fengmian from all directions and slammed into him. The moment they got close to Chu Fengmian, countless lightning bolts exploded. Boom! 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 The power of these massive explosions seemed to want to shatter the shattered space once again. With such power, if the two of them weren't in this shattered space, but anywhere else, it would have been enough to completely destroy that place. Kid, let's see what you can use to resist this time. Emperor Qin Huang looked at Chu Fengmian and said confidently. Chu Fengmian had been fighting with him for so long. Even if he had a breakthrough, he didn't believe that Chu Fengmian had much spirit energy left. This time, he wanted to seriously injure Chu Fengmian. No, Emperor Qin Huang wanted to completely destroy Chu Fengmian. Kill! Emperor Qin Huang, you're a great emperor, but I didn't expect you to be so stupid. Do you really think you can kill me? If I didn't have a breakthrough, you might have a chance. But now, you don't even have a 1 in 10,000 chance. Chu Fengmian looked at Emperor Qin Huang with cold eyes. In the face of the endless explosions, Chu Fengmian merely moved his mind and the ancient war dragon's claw descended from the sky once again. The countless lightning bolts were completely suppressed by the war dragon claw. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's body suddenly moved and appeared in front of Emperor Qin Huang. It was so fast that even Emperor Qin Huang couldn't react in time. Abundant Lush Monument. Destroy. Chu Fengmian activated the Abundant Lush Monument and slammed it at Emperor Qin Huang's chest. Kill you while you're down. As a great emperor, Emperor Qin Huang had countless trump cards. Chu Fengmian didn't want to give him any chance. He wanted to take advantage of the moment when Emperor Qin Huang was panicking to kill him. Crack! The power of the Abundant Lush Monument exploded at such a close distance, but Emperor Qin Huang couldn't react in time. Cracks could be seen on his chest, as if it were made of porcelain. The power of the rich lush tombstone had caused his body to shatter, causing blood to spray out in all directions. You want me to die? Not so easy. Emperor Qin Huang roared in anger. Heavenly thunder punishment. I am thunder. Countless drops of blood essence were burning wildly on his body. Chapter 367. Emperor Qin Huang, a character who had been unhindered for 1,000 years, was now forced to ignite his essence blood under Chu Fengmian's onslaught. This was his final struggle. An extremely strong qi burst out from the Qin Emperor's body, which turned into thunderbolts and burst out from his body. These bolts of lightning were no longer blue, but black. Thunder of heavenly punishment. Lightning was the symbol of heavenly punishment. If one wanted to pass through the life and death calamity of divine power realm, they had to undergo the baptism of heavenly punishment. Now that Emperor Jianwang had ignited his essence blood, his strength had reached a level infinitely close to life and death realm. The bolts of lightning in his body had actually transformed into thunder of heavenly punishment. Thunder of heavenly punishment was an unstoppable existence under life and death realm. Little bastard. My life's accumulation is gone in a single day. In order to kill you, I've used up so much essence blood. If I don't kill you today, I'm not a man. Emperor Jianwang's fury had reached its peak. Burning his blood essence was burning his strength at every moment. This was something that he would only do when he was in a desperate situation. However, Emperor Jianwang no longer cared about anything else. His only goal now was to kill Chu Fengmian. In order to kill Chu Fengmian, Emperor Jianwang was willing to pay any price. Die. Die under my thunder of heavenly punishment. Emperor Jianwang sneered again and again. Bolts of lightning bombarded Chu Fengmian. However, this time, it was the thunder of heavenly punishment. Its might was 10 times, no, 100 times stronger than ordinary lightning. Emperor Jianwang, no matter how much essence blood you ignite today, it's useless. Thunder of heavenly punishment, huh? Since I have to pass through the life and death calamity, I'll have to pass through this trial. Today, I'll have a taste of this legendary thunder of heavenly punishment. Let's see how powerful it is. Chu Fengmian laughed loudly. Facing the thunder of heavenly punishment that countless peak saints feared, Chu Fengmian was not the slightest bit afraid. On the contrary, he was extremely courageous as he charged forward. He wanted to face the thunder of heavenly punishment head-on. Passing through the thunder of heavenly punishment was something every expert had to do. Otherwise, they would not be able to enter life and death realm. Chu Fengmian would enter life and death realm sooner or later. Today, Chu Fengmian would take the initiative to experience the thunder of heavenly punishment that everyone feared. This behavior was too arrogant, tyrannical to the extreme. Countless pinnacle saints could only hide from the thunder of heavenly punishment. However, Chu Fengmian didn't even try to dodge it. Instead, he wanted to fight it. Fertile sword art. The scarlet flame sword in his hand suddenly moved and slashed at the heavenly punishment lightning. Little bastard, do you think you can resist the heavenly punishment lightning? Even Zhao Wudi doesn't dare to resist it. You dare to resist the thunder of heavenly punishment head-on? You're simply courting death. Seeing Chu Fengmian's actions, the Qin Emperor burst out laughing. He looked at Chu Fengmian as if he thought Chu Fengmian was extremely stupid. Under the encirclement of the thunder of heavenly punishment, the power of the fertile swordsmanship was completely shattered. The thunder of heavenly punishment was indeed worthy of its name. Its power was terrifying to the extreme. After destroying the power of the fertile swordsmanship, the countless thunder of heavenly punishment continued to entangle Chu Fengmian. Layers of lightning coiled around Chu Fengmian's body, wanting to tear him apart and kill him. Ha ha, the thunder of heavenly punishment isn't something a brat like you can resist. Die. The Qin Emperor looked at Chu Fengmian and laughed. However, all of a sudden, the enormous battle dragon's claw appeared once again. It appeared out of thin air and extinguished the heavenly punishment lightning on Chu Fengmian's body. The power of the thunder of heavenly punishment isn't that big of a deal. Your strength hasn't reached the life and death realm after all. The thunder of heavenly punishment isn't even 1/5 of its true power. Chu Fengmian looked at the Qin Emperor and said coldly, "Since I've already experienced the power of the thunder of heavenly punishment, you have no value. Die. Only in death will you have the final value." Chu Fengmian's face was calm. The sword in his hand once again shot out a beam of sword chi. This sword chi instantly turned into 1,000 layers, slashing at the Qin Emperor from all directions. Die for me. Chu Fengmian knew that the Qin Emperor was already an arrow at the end of its flight. After burning his essence blood, his strength had already reached its limit. Today, Chu Fengmian had to kill this Qin Emperor. Otherwise, the Qin Emperor might have comprehended something in this battle. At that time, when he passed the life and death calamity and obtained the strength of the life and death realm, Chu Fengmian wouldn't be his opponent. The Qin Emperor was determined to kill Chu Fengmian. And now, Chu Fengmian was also determined to kill the Qin Emperor. The Qin Emperor was an unparalleled figure among the peak saints. His vitality was tyrannical. If he wasn't killed, he could recover from any injuries. His body had already recovered by more than half. Now, Chu Fengmian's sword had turned into 1,000-sword qi. He wanted to kill the Qin Emperor with this sword qi, not giving him any chance. Damn it! Why can he resist the thunder of heavenly punishment? This Emperor's strength isn't enough. Strength! Strength! Saint Blood Essence! Burn them all! Sacrifice the heavens! The Qin Emperor went completely berserk. His fury had reached its peak. He didn't hesitate to burn all the Saint Blood Essence in his body in exchange for the greatest strength. Now, even if the Qin Emperor killed Chu Fengmian, the Qin Emperor would burn all the Saint Blood Essence in his body and become a cripple. He would never be able to reach the life and death realm again. However, Qin Huang no longer cared about all of this. Now, all he wanted to do was to kill Chu Fengmian. He wanted to kill Chu Fengmian completely. His life and death were no longer important. The most important thing was to kill Chu Fengmian. He couldn't let Chu Fengmian live past today. The Qin Emperor's strength had already reached the peak of the Saint Realm. Even Chu Fengmian didn't expect the Qin Emperor to be so crazy. This strength seemed to have reached a limit. The surrounding space started to ripple. The spiritual energy in the entire area changed, and an endless pressure descended from the sky. Life and death calamity. Chu Fengmian raised his head and suddenly thought of these words. The scene before his eyes was indeed a life and death calamity. In the sky, black calamity clouds covered the sky. All the spatial storms in the shattered space seemed to have stopped. Even the shattered space seemed to be afraid of this calamity. Life and death calamity, come at the right time. Ha ha ha, even if this emperor dies in this calamity, I'll take you down with me. You'll be buried with me. Today's 4 chapters were over, and it was still a steady 4 chapters. There was still time for more chapters. Recently, he had to save up. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.